Morning everybody, welcome to Solo ReacTalk. This morning I'm going to be reacting to a video requested by CarlKen0209. It's called Dark Souls Story Explained, made on the Brothers Code YouTube channel. Dark Souls, I know of the game. I haven't played the game. I know of the game. It's also from Software. They're the ones who developed it. I know that there is Dark Souls 1, 2 and 3. I think this one was released in 2011 or 12, if I'm not mistaken. It's also like a medieval themed action role-playing type of game. Knights in suits of armor, swords and long swords and bow and arrows and all that type of stuff. But of course with magic involved in as well. Just like Elden Ring, if I can say it like that. It's kind of just like Elden Ring, just in a different setting. Different storyline altogether. And yeah, I haven't played the game. I just know of the game. I know of the game. I don't know about 2 or 3 completely. But yeah, let's start with Dark Souls Story Explained by the Brothers Code YouTube channel. Oh yes, if you guys want to check out the original video as well as the Brothers Code YouTube channel, the links are going to be in the description below. Yes, alright, let's start. 3, 2, 1, go.
In the Age of Ancients, the world was unformed, shrouded by fog, a land of grey crags, arch trees and everlasting dragons. A concise yet effective way to describe the world prior to the introduction of fire. A monotone world of dread and anguish, one that is void of any essence of life. The Age of Ancients was ruled by powerful, everlasting dragons, known to possess impenetrable armor in the form of stone scales, which provided the dragons with immortality. The dragons ruled over all that resided in the Ashen Land, and they did so peacefully, as the truth is, there was no opposition. The world was stagnant. Some may describe it as inanimate, as no life could be found, nothing lived nor died. There was no progress or conflict. The world...
Wait a minute. There is no life, yet there's dragons. How do we explain the dragons then? If there is no life, what are the dragons? Are they not living beings? Okay.
The world simply existed. For the longest time, life remained nothing more than a shade of grey, a dull existence with no hope or purpose. Until one day a miraculous event took place, one that would change the course of time and usher in a new age that would collapse the rules of the old world and create a perpetual conflict that would last until the end of time. But then there was fire, and with fire came disparity, heat and cold, life and death, and of course, light and dark. From far within the deepest cavern known to Earth, fire ignited, forming the first flame, and with it introducing life to a world stripped of it.
Okay, so the dragons here don't breathe fire? Maybe this is a different type of fire. Maybe they're just calling it fire, but it's just some sort of energy that looks like fire, but it's not actually fire. I don't know. Okay, that's interesting, but it doesn't just pop into existence. There has to be a cause and effect. Something has to have brought this into existence. I mean, if nothing has existed before, that would, bring this energy into existence, then why does it happen now? Yeah, something or someone introduced this energy into the Ashen Lands.
Yearning for warmth, 4 primitive creatures began revealing themselves, emerging from the underground caves that they called home. They were drawn towards the flame, urging them to travel to the origin of the fire. To their surprise, from within the kiln of the first flame, emerged souls of lords. Extremely powerful souls that granted those who harbored them immense power. The beings decided to possess the souls themselves, One of the souls was claimed by Nito. His soul turned him into the representation of sickness and death, rearranging his form into a combination of skeletons held together. Nito is referred to as the first of the dead. This hints at the possibility of Nito being the first creature to experience death, as before the igniting of the flame, nothing lived or died. Nito's soul states the following: Grave Lord Nito administers the death of all manner of beings. The power of his soul is so great that it satiates the Lordvessel, despite the fact that much of its energy has already been offered to death.
Okay, what is the Lordvessel? Hopefully they'll tell us what that is. Okay. If he's experienced death, then how is he still existing exactly? Because before this fire came into existence, nothing lived and nothing died. Thus, everything was in a stagnant existence. There's no progression, there's no advancement, there's no death and rebirth, if I can say that. So now after they found this fire and they were able to attain the Lord's souls of Lord, the Lord's souls, if I can say that, then he experienced death. So how is he still alive? I don't understand that part.
The description of the soul indicates that Nito's only purpose is to administer death to the world. He is the balance put in place to complement the creation of life, as without death, there is no value to life. The second soul was claimed by the Witch of Izalith, and was split with her 7 daughters of chaos. The third soul was taken by Gwyn, the Lord of Sunlight. When he found the Lord Soul, Gwyn's legion of knights were present. This indicates that Gwyn likely held power before obtaining the Lord Soul, although it's unclear what power or influence one would have under the rule of dragons. However, now with the Lord Soul at Gwyn's disposal, he would wield the power of generating lightning, something that would prove useful at a later point. The fourth and final soul was the Dark Soul, which was obtained by the furtive pygmy, who is described as a primeval human, likely the ancestor to the humans we know today, the progenitor to the human race. His Lord Soul was a small black ember, distinctly different from the other Lord Souls, and the pygmy ensured that the existence of the soul remained unknown to others. The Dark Soul granted the pygmy the ability to fragment it, and use its capabilities to create humanity. This black sprite is called humanity, but little is known about its true nature. If the soul is the source of all life, then what distinguishes the humanity we hold within ourselves? The description of humanity questions its unclear nature, and confirms the soul to be the source of life, rather than humanity itself. This aligns with the fact that every being from lords to demons have souls. However, not all beings possess humanity. With this knowledge, we can assume that although the soul is what grants life, humans possess both the soul and humanity, giving them a unique identity, separating them from all beings in existence.
So humanity is some sort of energy that only humans harbor. All living beings have souls. However, humanity have something more. They have these sprites, these humanity sprites, and these sprites give humanity some sort of special power, or a little bit of a leg up against all the other creatures that live in the Ashen Lands. Okay, so all the other beings, they depend on the fire to exist. Okay.
Whilst the gods depend on the first flame for power, humans inherit power from the consumption of humanity, signified by the reversing of a person's hollow stature back to human form. The power of
hollow stature. Okay.
Humanity is fueled by the willpower and perseverance of the being possessing it. It empowers those who refuse to give up. The subdued nature of its power is why humanity was overlooked by the lords, as they desired quantifiable power, something that they could possess instantly. Humanity was passed down to the descendants of the furtive pygmy, and helped shape humans into what they are now. The furtive pygmy is theorized to be Manus, father of the abyss, and forefather to the human species. Manus raised humanity in the depth of the abyss, a realm of darkness, one only inhabitable to humans, as beings who are aligned with fire, including the gods, are vulnerable to being corrupted. and require specific equipment to prevent them from succumbing to the physical and spiritual corruption of the Abyss. This brings humanity closer to the dark, rooting their essence in the Abyss, whilst the Lords strive for light, as the flame is what grants them power. Now that Nito has acquired the Soul of Death, the Witch of Izalith the Soul of Life, and Gwyn the Soul of Light,
Hold on. Soul of Life and Soul of Light. Okay. And then Pygmy got the Dark Soul. Okay.
three would possess the power to bring change to the world, as they no longer needed to live under the rule of the dragons. They knew that if they could cooperate with one another and use their newly found abilities to fight for the same cause, they could overthrow the dragons and become the new rulers of the Ashen world. And thus preparations began, and war was imminent. Once they were ready, the three lords waged war on the dragons. The Witch of Izalith and her daughters weaved deadly firestorms that would incinerate the lands. Gwyn would project his mighty lightning bolts towards the dragons, piercing their scales and sending them spiraling towards the ground. And Nito would deliver the killing blow by unleashing a miasma of death and disease upon them. Alongside Gwyn were his four trusted knights, one of which was Knight Artorius, who was the commander of Lord Gwyn's army. As described by his wolf ring, Artorius had an unbendable will of steel, and was unmatched with a greatsword. Also involved in the war was Hawkeye Goth, who later details his experience fighting in the battle against the dragons. According to the Hawk Ring, Goth was the leader of the Great Archers, and his abilities with a great bow were unmatched, taking down high-flying dragons, allowing Artorius and his allies to slay the dragons from the ground. Gwyn's third knight was Dragonslayer Ornstein, who was believed to be the captain of the four knights, according to Ornstein's armor description. The Hornet Ring reveals that the final knight was Lord's Blade Kieran, who was notorious for using a dagger to lay waste to Lord Gwyn's enemies. The unsung heroes of the war were the humans, who fought as the Ring Knights. The Dragon Head Shield description reveals that the Ring Knights, by command of the gods, stood amongst the ranks who set out to slay the dragons, but their contributions were never lauded. This indicates that the Ring Knights were never honoured for their allegiance, and their involvement was kept undisclosed. They were also tasked with forging armour and weapons to aid in the battle, as explained by the Ring Knight set, stating, "The armour of early men was forged in the Abyss." Although for the longest time, the warriors spoken of were known to be the only ones who fought in the war against the dragons, the truth would later be revealed, showing that history had been rewritten, unfolding that there was indeed another warrior involved, one that had been unspoken of for many years, the warrior being Gwyn's firstborn son, the Nameless King. The Ring of the Sun's Firstborn states the following: "The Sun's Firstborn was once a god of war, until he was stripped of his stature as punishment for his foolishness. No wonder his very name slipped from the annals of history." This tells the story of Gwyn's eldest son being present in the war. The fact that he's described as a god of war indicates how truly masterful he was in battle. The Dragonslayer Swordspear describes him as a deific hunter of dragons, further amplifying his abilities. With all that being said, what could have possibly happened to wipe this warrior's name from history, denoting him to a failure whose name is forgotten, hence why he is known as the Nameless King?
He must have betrayed the king. Gwyn. He must have betrayed Gwyn, or he was corrupted by the dragons, or I don't know. Yeah, it's either he was corrupted by the dragons or he betrayed Gwyn and the other gods.
The soul of the Nameless King reveals that he sacrificed everything to ally himself with the ancient dragons, explaining that his betrayal of his father resulted in all his accolades being stripped from him. The Lightning Storm description reads, "Once a slayer of dragons, the former king and war god tamed a storm drake, on which he led a lifetime of battle." This statement reveals that after taming the storm drake, the Nameless King made the decision to side with the dragons and
But why? Why did he side with the dragons? What's the reason?
leave behind his reputation and all the goodwill that he had obtained over the years. The once revered and respected warrior turned into a nameless being, whose existence may as well have never taken place. The Nameless King was not the sole traitor of his kind, as during the battle with the dragons, there was a betrayal that took place that would tip the scales in favour of the lords.
What is this thing? It looks like a dragon, but it looks... I don't know, it just looks like it's fleshy.
The dragons were betrayed by one of their very own, Seath the Scaleless. Seath was different from the other dragons. As stated by his name, he had no scales, and this likely enabled him to be envious and resentful towards other dragons. He may have even been treated differently, and thus when the chance presented itself, he took liberty in turning against his own kind.
You see, Seath has a reason why he's betraying his own kind. However, the son of the firstborn is not... Well, we don't really have an explanation why Gwen's son betrayed, Gwen and the rest of the gods. At least with Seth or Seath, Seath, we have a reason why he's betraying the dragons, but nothing about the god of war. Okay.
Siding with the lords instead. Another reason for his betrayal is Gwyn's promise of giving Seath control over the archives, which is described as having a trove of precious tomes and letters. This would appeal to Seath, as the Moonlight Greatsword informs that Seath is the grandfather of sorcery, and this sword is imbued with his magic, which shall be unleashed as a wave of moonlight. Having access to the archives would grant Seath the ability to further study sorcery, broadening his knowledge on the subject. Seath would put his sorcery to use in the battle by using weapons such as the soul arrows, which are effective against iron armor, tough scales, and other physically resilient materials, making them perfect for piercing dragons' scales. Soon after, the dragons could fight no longer, and although they weren't made extinct, the majority of them were killed, and therefore the reign of dragons had come to an end, paving the way to the rise of gods and the Age of Fire. Following their victory, Gwyn, Nito and the Witch of Izalith inherited the world left behind by the dragons. Nito descended into the catacombs and slumbered within the Tomb of the Giants, where he continued to administer death by using the energy of the Lord Soul. Those who worship the Gravelord would travel to his tomb and become Gravelord's servants, aiding Nito in administering death in all parts of the world by using an Eye of Death. The dreadful Eyes of Death spread disaster across neighbouring worlds. Phantoms lured to the host world may end up as victims, allowing the Eyes of Death to multiply and leading to further proliferation of Bane. The Eye summons evil spirits into various locations to inflict death to its residents. In addition,
So Nito doesn't want to, get souls or, those who have been deceased through natural causes. He wants his servants to have these Eyes of Death and initiate a catastrophe, in those communities or that nation or that world, and have all of those souls come directly to him. Huh, okay. Wow. I guess he has an insatiable, appetite for souls. He can't wait for people to die naturally. He wants them now.
in addition to luring the residents back to the Gravelord's servants, who are tasked with killing the victims and bringing their Eyes of Death to Nito. This is further explained by the Gravelord's sword dance miracle, which states, Nito sleeps deep within the giant catacombs, quietly overseeing all death, and awaiting for his servants to usher in the Eye of Death. Triumphant against the dragons, Gwyn became the king of Lordran and lived alongside his clan of gods in the city of Honor Londo.
Hold on. Lordron? Is Lordron Ashenland? Is it Ashenland? But they renamed it to Lordron. Okay. What's the name of the capital again?
Gwyn became the king of Lordran and lived alongside his clan of gods in the city of Honor Londo.
Honor Wando? Okay. Hopefully I'm spelling it correctly here. Okay.
They continued hunting descendants of the dragons to ensure that they remained feeble in a world of gods, allowing the lords to develop their powers through practice. Gwyn was generous with his gifts to the majority of those who fought alongside him, but not so much for humanity, who we already know had never been credited for their involvement in the war. Gwyn's attempt to reward the pygmies is one of trickery and betrayal. According to the small envoy banner, for the pygmies who took the Dark Soul, the Great Lord gifted the Ringed City, an isolated place at World's End, and his beloved youngest daughter, promising her that he would come for her when the day came. The true intention of Gwyn's gift to humanity is to isolate them at World's End, and ensure that his youngest daughter Filianor would halt the flow of time, leaving them to exist in the past and be forgotten by the world. Also demonstrating Gwyn's fear of humanity is the description of the Ringed Knight set.
He really does not like humanity, or he does not like the fact that humanity, or should I say humans, have humanity. You know, they have a power source that is different from the fire. And probably that's a threat to his order that he's built in, what did you call it again? Lordaeron. Yeah. He must be seeing humans as a threat to his hegemony across the land, and all the other gods that are, working with him. That he would even sacrifice his beloved daughter to become this time stasis field that's going to contain all those humans in that city at World's End, right? Yeah. Okay.
Which reads, "The armour of early men was forged in the abyss, and betrays a smidgen of life. For this reason, the gods cast a seal of fire upon such armour and those who possessed them. A smidgen of life refers to the sprite of humanity within the pygmy, the power of the abyss, a source of strength that can only be utilised by humanity. And so it brought fear to the gods and threatened their reign, as humanity's existence is actively in conflict with the Age of Fire. The gods cast a seal of fire on the Ringed Knights, and likely the rest of humanity, branding them with the dark sign, which repressed their abilities. The dark sign signifies an accursed undead. Those branded with it are reborn after death, but will one day lose their mind and go hollow. This decision is later revealed to have far-reaching consequences, ones that Gwyn could have never anticipated."
Okay, so they were branded, and those who were branded, I'm saying human beings, those human beings who are branded, they cannot die, essentially. They're undead, meaning they've been killed before, but now they return as zombies of some sort. And the more they stay as a zombie, they lose themselves, and then they become the hollow. Okay.
But for now, the world belonged to the gods. Preceding Gwyn's betrayal of humanity, he rewarded Seath the Scaleless as promised. Seath was recognised for his efforts and was deemed a duke, granting him control over the archives. This was seen as distasteful by a close friend of Gwyn, called Havel, as he harboured immense hatred towards Seath. The Great Magic Barrier Miracle states, Havel the Rock, an old battlefield compatriot of Lord Gwyn, was the sworn enemy of Seath the Scaleless. He despised magic and made certain to devise means of counteraction. This statement suggests that Havel was loyal to Gwyn and fought alongside him during many battles, which
And look, like his armor really is made out of rock. I don't know if the weapon he's carrying is also made out of rock. I think it is, but yeah, definitely. His name suits, him and the armor set that he is wearing.
Further emphasises the dislike Havel fostered towards Seath, leading him to fall out with his close friend Gwyn as a result of Seath being granted dukedom. As evidenced by the magic barrier, Havel took precaution by creating miracles that provide coating, which greatly boosts magic defense, assisting warriors who must face the magic, which Bishop Havel countered so proficiently. This allowed Havel to resist Seath's magic if they were to ever confront one another. It is unclear if Havel despises Seath due to his hatred for magic, or if his hatred for magic stems from his dislike for Seath. However,
I say it's both, because Seath is the enemy. Seath was, or should I say, he is a dragon. Yes, he might have betrayed his kind to work with Gwen, but still he is a dragon. And Havel and all those other gods, they were fighting against the dragons during that war to control the Ashenlands. So it's his enemy. I don't know if he hates magic per se, but maybe because Seth is the main architect in, building the foundation of magic in this new epoch, if I can say that. Yeah, probably Havel doesn't like magic because it's associated with him as well. With Seath, yeah.
However, what is made clear is that Havel distrusts Seath, and rightfully so, as he was a traitor of his own kind. What's to stop him from betraying Gwyn? In addition to acquiring miracles, Havel wields a dragon tooth, presumably taken from one of the dragon corpses killed in the war. The tooth is described as a weapon created from an everlasting dragon tooth, legendary great hammer of Havel the Rock. The dragon tooth will never break, as it's harder than stone, and it grants its wielder resistance to magic and flame. In addition to this, Havel wore armor carved from solid rock. Its tremendous weight is matched only by the defense it provides.
So that weapon he's carrying is the dragon tooth. Alright.
Due to the nature of his armor, he was known as Havel the Rock. At some point down the line, Gwyn decided to lock Havel in the basement of a watchtower for no clear reason. The watchtower basement key reads, "There are rumours of a hero turned hollow who was locked away by a dear friend, for his own good, of course." This references Havel being imprisoned by Gwyn and states that it was for his own good, as he had turned hollow. It is suggested that the description tells the story of what happened from the perspective of Gwyn, or at least tells the story in the way that Gwyn would have presented it, his once close friend who conveniently turned hollow when he began to object to Gwyn's choices. It seems more likely that Havel possibly planned to confront his nemesis Seath once and for all, and was caught by Gwyn, who in return locked him away to rot in a basement of a watchtower.
Clearly it was a machinations of court intrigue, and Havel lost in that battle, to win the favor of Gwyn and the trust of Gwyn. And it was Seath who won the day, and therefore Gwyn had to choose between the friend he has been fighting with, against the dragons, or is he going to support the Duke, who holds institutional knowledge in terms of magic and possibly also his trust, because he's given him dukedom, he's given him a title, land, and he is the founder of all magic within the lands of Lordaeron. So yeah, Gwyn had to choose who's more important to his kingdom. Is it Seth or is it Havel? And he's made his choice.
Subsequent theory suggests that Havel was believed to be involved in the occult rebellion, which the effigy shield describes as an ill-fated plot to destroy the very gods. The reason that Havel is associated with the occult is because in Anor Londo, an occult club can be found besides the remainder of his armor, and as the Dark Ember puts it, occult weapons were used to hunt the gods, and are effective against their following and kin. Could it be that Havel had planned to overthrow the gods?
These occult weapons, are they made out of, are they forged from the Abyss? Because the Abyss is the only thing that we know of that can affect those who still use, fire. Or should I say the flame? What do they call it again? The Lord's Soul? Or the Souls of Lords, yeah. So probably those weapons that were forged were made out of the Abyss, and yeah, it's treason to use such weapons against the gods. You'll probably be killed or sent to prison. But why would Havel do such a thing? No. I'm telling you, he was embroiled into court intrigue with Seth, and somehow Seth won the day,
resulting in Gwyn locking him away as a safety measure. Or would it make more sense to assume that someone, presumably Seath, had falsely accused Havel of treason by placing an occult club amongst Havel's arsenal?
I can see that happening.
Havel was most likely a threat to Seath, after all. A clear resolution is yet to be found, but based on Havel's years of loyalty and chivalrous behaviour, it is rational to assume that he was wrongfully imprisoned, and left alone in a cell for many years.
And I'm sure Gwyn knows about this. I'm sure he knows about it. he probably knows that his friend could never do something like this. But as the king or as the god, he has to make a choice. Who is more important to his kingdom? Who is more important to the hegemony of his empire? It's not Havel, clearly. It's the man, or should I say the dragon, that holds institutional knowledge on magic. That's more important.
Eventually losing his sanity and turning hollow. Many years later, the flame began to fade, threatening the reign of the lords. As if the flame was to dissipate, their power would vanquish along with it. Gwyn
Nothing lasts forever.
and the other lords were desperate for a solution, a way to maintain the first flame and continue the age of gods. The Witch of Izalith, who at this point had settled with her daughters in the city of Izalith, was summoned by Gwyn to recreate the first flame. As an attempt to avoid the dwindling of the fire, she managed to generate a new flame in Izalith. However, the fire grew uncontrollably, forming a flame of chaos, and neither the witch nor her daughters were capable of restraining it, growing to unprecedented proportions until the colossal flame devoured the witch. The flame used the Lord Soul to fuel itself and moulded the witch's body into a seed bed, forming the bed of chaos, and mutating the occupants of the city into demons. Following the catastrophe that took place, Gwyn dispatched his Black Knights to eliminate the demons in Izalith. The Black Knight shield states, "Long ago, the Black Knights faced the Chaos Demons and were charred black. Due to his knights failing to defeat the demons, and the flame coming ever so close to extinguishing, Gwyn saw no other choice in sight but to depart from Anor Londo and reignite the flame himself, leaving..."
Guys, if it's a flame, why don't you just collect wood? Go collect some flammable materials and just, throw them into the flame. I'm sure the flame is going to eat that up and, just continue to grow. Okay, yeah, this is definitely a different type of magical flame here. And yeah, I can see Gwyn is desperate. He wants to keep this thing alive so that his kingdom and his entire empire can continue to, flourish for the foreseeable future. But like I said before, all good things come to an end. Nothing lasts forever. Nothing lasts forever. Just like the age of the dragons, the everlasting dragons. They thought that they would exist forever, and their time was up when, the beings that collected the Lord Souls were able to overthrow them. So their epoch ended, and now this epoch is also going to end. You can try and stop it all you want, but if it's your time, it's your time.
His Silver Knights behind to protect the city in his absence. The Silver Knight set declares that when Gwyn departed to link the fire, his knights split into two groups. The Silver Knights remained in the Forsaken capital in service of their goddess, the goddess being Gwyn's second-born child, Guinevere, Princess of Sunlight. Before departing on his endeavour, Gwyn divided and gifted pieces of his Lord Soul to various beings, in order to have his power succeeded by those around him following his sacrifice. The Great Lord Greatsword suggests that Gwyn divided that power amongst his children, and set off with only his Greatsword as his companion. The Soul of the Four Kings explains that Lord Gwyn recognised the foresight of these four great leaders of New Londo, and granted them their ranks and the fragments of a great soul. The remaining piece of his soul was given to Seath, who was clearly a favoured being amongst Gwyn's clan. The soul of Seath the Scaleless reads that Seath was embraced by the royalty and given a fragment of a great soul. With his soul divided, Gwyn entered the Kiln of the First Flame and sacrificed himself in favour of prolonging the flame's cycle, allowing the fire to engulf him and the Age of Gods to live on. Many of Gwyn's Black Knights ventured into the Kiln alongside him, but as evidenced by the Black Knight set, were burned to ashes in a newly kindled flame, wandering the world as disembodied spirits ever after.
So Gwyn is dead. He sacrificed himself to make sure that the this new epoch of the Lord Souls gods continues to exist. And he shattered his soul into different fragments, and he gave it to four kings. He gave it to his children. Although I've only heard of Guinevere, I don't know who else is there in his family tree, because his firstborn son is not here. So we've only heard of Guinevere. She's the one who has a shard of his soul as well. And yeah, and of course Seth, or Seth. Yeah, he also has a shard of his soul. Interesting. Okay. I didn't expect him to kill himself. Ah, alright.
Due to branding humanity with the dark sign, in addition to artificially prolonging the Age of Fire, a curse was released upon the world, the Curse of the Undead. Beings who die reawaken at bonfires, perpetually repeating the cycle of life and death, until they eventually lose their sanity and become hollows. Reaching a state of being hollow is marked by the decaying of the body over time, and once a hollow is killed, they no longer reawaken, but remain permanently dead. This is the consequence of refusing to relinquish the Age of Fire and disallowing nature to take its course. The Undead Curse is the world's way of correcting the gods' wrongdoings and making way for the Age of Dark, an inevitable state of existence that will at some point take its course regardless of the number of times the light is rekindled. The gods did everything in their power to constrain the dark, from casting the seal of fire on humanity to sacrificing themselves to the flame, not knowing that their actions were futile and would only prolong the arrival of a predestined future, a future of darkness.
Once, the Lord of Light banished dark and all that stemmed from humanity, and men assumed a fleeting form. These are the roots of our world. Men are props in state of life, and no matter how tender, how exquisite, a lie will remain a lie.
So, Gwen and the other gods tried their best to sustain their hegemony and their epoch in Lordaeron or Ashenland, but it has failed. And now there's a curse that is affecting. Is it only human beings, or is it affecting all beings across the land? In terms of becoming undead. And this curse seems to be permanent. I don't know if there's any way to cure it, to cure yourself of this curse. And until you become a hollow, when you lose your mind, you lose your perspective on time and understanding, you just become this zombie creature. Only then will you be able to die permanently. Okay, wow. Takes a long time then. I mean, you're alive and then you die, but then you come back and you're still alive, technically, until you become a hollow, and then someone has to kill you, or you kill yourself, or I don't know what happens while you're a hollow, and then you are permanently dead. It's a long, winding procedure just to die permanently.
But soon the flames will fade, and only dark will remain. Even now, there are only embers, and man sees not light, but only endless nights. And amongst the living are seen carriers of the accursed dark sign. The Age of Fire, although extended, grows weaker, and soon enough the darkness will cast its shadow over the world. With the curse of the undead harrowing the land of ancient lords, little remains but diminishing hope for the future. Here begins the tale of the Chosen Undead, who are
I don't know why are we assuming that because it's the age of darkness, it's going to be a terrible age. I don't know who said that. I don't know who said that. The only people who are saying that are those who are in power. Those are the people who are afraid of losing their power, losing their existence, and handing it over to the next generation. Those are the people who are spreading that propaganda of saying the age of darkness is going to be terrible. It's going to be just darkness. It's going to be something that, no one can recognize. No one can survive it. How do you know? How do you know? You're only saying those things because you're afraid of losing your own power. And since this is a natural course of things happening in the land, where from one epoch, in terms of the everlasting dragons, we entered into the epoch of the fire, age of fire, and now we're entering into the age of darkness. It's just a natural course of events. It's something that's supposed to happen. So it's not bad. It's not bad. It's not hopelessness. Yes, we fear the unknown, but sometimes you have to leap. You have to leap into that darkness and see what's there.
Awakens in the Northern Undead Asylum, a prison where all undead beings are confined and left to rot until the end of time. Upon awakening in a cell, the Chosen Undead is rescued by a mysterious figure who
The Chosen Undead is the player character, right?
appears through a hole in the roof and drops a dungeon cell key attached to a corpse. The key reads, "A mysterious knight, without saying a word, shoved a corpse down into the cell, and on its person was this key. Who was this knight, and what was his purpose? There may be no answer, but one must still forge ahead."
And why did he throw a body down there with it?
As advised by the key, the Chosen Undead forges ahead as they unlock the cell door and navigate the maze-like asylum. The Undead Asylum second floor east key reads, "The Undead Asylum is a giant undead prison, segmented by countless iron bars. Even if an undead were to escape from a cell, passage to the outside world would not be gained easily." A vague hint at a greater threat within the asylum. Soon after, the mysterious knight is found dying, appearing to have been hurled through the roof. The figure reveals himself to be Oscar, Knight of Astora. Oscar informs of a prophecy that references an undead being who will undertake a pilgrimage to ring the bells of awakening residing in Lordvessel, a crusade that will take place nearing the collapse of the Age of Fire and impact the state of the world.
Thou who art undead art chosen, and thine exodus from the undead asylum maketh pilgrimage to the land of ancient lords. When thou ringeth the bell of awakening, the fate of the undead thou shalt know.
Oscar travels from the faraway land of Astora, a region known for its brave knights, aesthetic landscapes, as well as its masterful craftsmen, as evidenced by blacksmith Andre, who also originated in Astora. Oscar had journeyed to Lordvessel with the goal of ringing the bells of awakening. However, due to his current predicament, he chooses to delegate his mission to the Chosen Undead and provides them with an Estus flask to aid in the journey. Estus flasks are described as undead treasure that can be filled with Estus at a bonfire, which in return heals any wounds that the Chosen Undead may have suffered. Tasked with ringing the bells, the Chosen Undead leaves Oscar behind and
the Estus flasks, are they related to the what are they called again? To humanity? Estus flasks. Okay.
continues to traverse the Undead Asylum until halted by the presence of an asylum demon. The creation of this demon is likely a side effect of the Witch of Izalith attempting to duplicate the first flame, and was placed in the asylum to ensure that no undead is able to escape. A blockade of...
Interestingly that it's alive, because isn't Gwen the one who ordered the... was it the Black Knights or the Silver Knights to fight against the demons and destroy them? And yet here there is a demon being a warden of an asylum prison for the undead. Okay.
Sorts for those brave enough to leave their cell. The demon's presence makes sense of why Oscar was found dying, revealing that he had fought the demon and lost. The demon's great hammer states that the weapon is used by lesser demons at Northern Undead Asylum, implying that the asylum demon is among the inferior ranks of demons, an indication of the challenges yet to come.
This guy is inferior? Do you see how big he is? That demon is huge.
Defeating the asylum demon grants the Chosen Undead the Big Pilgrim's Key, which allows them to escape the prison and begin their quest. Exploring beyond the asylum leads to the discovery of a giant crow, one of many ravens who are said to have once been Firelink messengers, guiding the undead to the land of ancient gods. Fulfilling its duty, the crow carries the Chosen Undead to Lordvessel, delivering them to Firelink Shrine, a safe haven to all travelers passing through. On arrival, the Chosen Undead is greeted by a crestfallen warrior, and it's made apparent that this person is very well aware of the undead pilgrimage, likely to have assumed this task himself at some point in time. He informs the Chosen Undead that the first bell of awakening is located above the undead church, whilst the second is deep in the ruins of Blighttown. His posture, coupled with his dialogue, revealed that he had failed to ring the bells himself, and is now a demoralized soul, lingering around Firelink, watching those who pass by, with
And he's also undead. Okay?
no real purpose. He is an example of a defeated soul, someone who couldn't persist, and was beaten down by the cruelty of the undead curse. A sign of his discouragement is shown when he states, "There's no salvation here, you'd have done better to rot in the undead asylum." The warrior follows up by asking about another occupant of Firelink Shrine.
Okay, so if you're undead and you are in a state of depression, will that also lead you to become a hollow? Not just that you've lost your mind or you've gone insane, then you become a hollow, but also it can be done through, depression. Or if you're depressed, if you're sad, you've lost the will to live, you have decided to resign yourself just to, wallow in your own failures, then that will lead you to become a hollow. Okay.
Stating,
Oh, have you seen that terribly morose lass, the firekeeper? She's stuck keeping that bonfire lit. Sad, really. She's mute and bound to this forsaken place. They probably cut her tongue out back in her village, so that she'd never say any god's name in vain. How do these martyrs keep chugging along?
the person in question is Anastasia of Astora, referred to as a firekeeper, someone who's committed to maintaining their respective bonfire. The firekeeper soul explains, each firekeeper is a corporeal manifestation of her bonfire, and a draw for the humanity which is offered to her. Her soul is gnawed by infinite humanity, and can boost the power of the precious Estus flask. Anastasia's story proceeds beyond her sworn duty, as on several occasions she's referred to as impure, but the reasoning for such claims are never revealed.
So she's some sort of like a battery. You know, she sustains the bonfire, and she can also fill up your ester flask, right? Okay.
It could be related to why her tongue had been severed, possibly due to saying something that was perceived as impure, resulting in her punishment being the removal of her tongue. It appears that she had suffered further punishment, as she sports a blood-stained skirt, which can later be acquired. The description of the skirt reads, "It is thought to have once been the white skirt of a maiden, but its true origin is lost in patches of blood. Perhaps its former wearer was maimed to prevent escape." This statement reinforces that Anastasia was at some point tortured, having her legs impaired as to prevent her from walking, or rather escaping. What could she have possibly done to justify such cruel punishment? Until this day, it remains a mystery. Surveying the area surrounding Firelink Shrine reveals a man named Petrus of Thoroland,
And he's thick. Or is it the armor he's wearing?
an advocate for the Way of White, a religious covenant dedicated to hunting down the undead and kindling bonfires as a means of sustaining the Age of Fire. The head bishop of the Way of White is described by the White Seance Ring as an apostle to Allfather Lloyd, uncle to Lord Gwyn. This suggests that Allfather Lloyd was likely associated with the Way of White, although it's unclear if he was the founder of the organisation. Following Gwyn's sacrifice, the Way of White was formed in service of the gods, to ensure that the flame remains ignited and the gods preserve their power. The Covenant, along with Petrus, both come from the land of Thoroland, which is known for its devotion towards Allfather Lloyd and the former Lord of Sunlight, Gwyn. Petrus is later joined by Rhea of Thoroland, alongside her companions and bodyguards, Vince and Nico of Thoroland. Rhea is the daughter of House of Thoroland, making her royalty, but due to becoming undead, she was made to depart from her home and undergo the undead mission to restore her humanity once more. Rhea and her companions had travelled to Lordran to seek the rite of kindling.
So if you don't have humanity as a human being, will that lead you to also becoming a hollow? Is that why she wants to get humanity, so that she can sustain herself in her undead form? I don't think she'll be able to revert back to being alive. I don't know if there's a way to break that curse, but just keeping herself as an undead being she will need humanity to do that. And since, if you're someone who doesn't have humanity, it will lead you to become a hollow. Alright. So, through depression, through dying multiple times, and lack of humanity, it can lead you to become a hollow. Alright. Guys, if I'm wrong, you can correct me in the comment section. I'm just trying to understand everything here.
Described as a sacred rite passed down among clerics, but all undead can imitate the process in the same manner that they restore their hollowing with humanity. Petrus is seen guiding Rhea on her journey, and he appears to be friendly and accommodating at first. However,
that smile. Look at that smile. Look at that smile. No, I don't trust this guy.
However, his presence permeates sinister overtones. For now, in pursuit of the first Bell of Awakening, the Chosen Undead relocates to the Undead Burg, where they are met with another creation of the Witch of Izalith, the Taurus Demon, a large Minotaur-esque creature, wielding a weapon carved from the bones of other demons. The demon's great axe also implies that Taurus demons are lesser than their counterparts, indicating that once again, greater threats are yet to be uncovered. The Chosen Undead once more proves worthy, slaying the Taurus demon and marching forward towards their objective. Within the Undead Burg, various characters can be met, one being Solaire of Astora, the Warrior of Sunlight.
I am Solaire of Astora, an adherent of the Lord of Sunlight. Now that I am undead, I have come to this great land, the birthplace of Lord Gwyn, to seek my very own son.
Solaire is on a mission, determined to find his own son. The Sunlight Talisman describes Solaire as having unwavering faith, and his armor of the sun is marked with a large holy symbol of the sun, while Powerless was painted by Solaire himself. Solaire states that he is an adherent of the Lord of Sunlight, Lord Gwyn himself, making sense of his motive to find his very own son. Conscious of the world nearing the end of an era, as darkness diminishes the light, Solaire aims to ally himself with other undead beings and offers to help if he was ever to be called upon by the Chosen Undead.
The way I see it, our fates appear to be intertwined. Both undead, both imprisoned in the asylum, and now we both end up here, in a land brimming with hollows. Could that really be mere chance? So what do you say? Why not help one another on this lonely journey? We are amidst strange beings in a strange land. The flow of time itself is convoluted, with heroes centuries old phasing in and out. The very fabric wavers, and relations shift and obscure. There's no telling how much longer your world and mine will remain in contact.
With that said, Solaire and the Chosen Undead go their separate ways for now, recommencing on their quests. This leads to the Lower Undead Burg, where a sorcerer by the name of Griggs of Vinheim can be found trapped in a room. Vinheim was infamously known for its Dragon School, an organization that specializes in teaching sorcery. It is rumored that the school's name was inspired by none other than Seath the Scaleless. Freeing Griggs from the locked room reveals his armor to be the Black Sorcerer's set, which is described as an outfit worn by the secret sorcerers at Vinheim Dragon School. They secretly worked with sound-based spells and never reveal themselves. This hints at Griggs being a prominent figure within the Vinheim Dragon School. Reaffirming this notion is his possession of the Great Soul Arrows.
Hold on, let me just write down the school here. Vinheim Dragon School. Nice name though. Vinheim Dragon School.
Which read, at the Vinheim Dragon School, the acquisition of this spell marks an apprentice's coronation as a sorcerer. Griggs' main objective is to find his master, Big Hat Logan, and whether or not the two are reunited is dependent on the Chosen Undead's actions. If all of his sorceries are purchased, Griggs will travel into dangerous territory in search of his master, leading to him becoming hollow in Sen's fortress. Alternatively, disregarding his sorceries will lead to Griggs remaining in Firelink Shrine, awaiting the day his master returns.
Yeah, we don't need your sorcerers books or enchantments or anything like that. You can stay where you are. You can stay where you are. I'm sure the chosen undead will be able to find his own, enchantments and sorcery books and whatever else out there. He doesn't need your stuff. Yeah. So you can just stay here.
Back to the lower undead burg, persisting through the narrow alleyway leads to the Capra demon, another creature given life by the flame of Izalith. This foe wields a demon great machete and is accompanied by multiple dogs, making them a nuisance to deal with. But nonetheless, the chosen undead overcomes the challenge and reaches the location of the undead church. Roaming the environment can lead to the discovery of Knight Lordtrek of Karim, who can be seen locked in a cell on the top floor of the church. The people of Karim, similar to those of Thoroland, are worshippers of gods. Lordtrek himself being devoted to Fina, a goddess described by the Ring of Favour and Protection as having fateful beauty. The Favour set states that Lordtrek believed in the goddess's love for him, but was this love truly reciprocated, or was Lordtrek disillusioned by his love for Fina? At this point, the chosen undead can choose to free Lordtrek, resulting in them being rewarded for their efforts. However, regardless of the chosen undead's intervention, Knight Lordtrek is able to break free from the cell and can later be found in Firelink Shrine.
He's always sitting in the same, position. Nice armor though. I like his armor.
Returning to Firelink at a later point in time, it is revealed that the bonfire had faded, and the firekeeper Anastasia had been murdered by the Knight of Karim, Lordtrek. It is said that Lordtrek had forsaken his duties as a knight, leading to his appearance in Lordran. However, the mission he states that he's on remains speculatory. It can be surmised that his mission was to track down Anastasia and acquire her Firekeeper soul, which would explain his actions. Using the Black Eye Orb, Lordtrek can be invaded in Anor Londo and found in possession of the Firekeeper soul, curiously yet to have consumed it. Could it be that he had neglected to use it, or did he have other intentions with the soul? Nonetheless, the chosen undead defeats Lordtrek and uses the Firekeeper soul to revive Anastasia, now with her tongue restored, while simultaneously reigniting the Firelink bonfire. Reaching the rooftop, the chosen undead slays the bell gargoyles, safeguarding the passage to the top of the church, and rings the bell of awakening,
Are the gargoyles also some form of demon?
successfully completing the first task of the undead pilgrimage. Descending the undead church will lead to the discovery of Oswald of Karim, a pardoner who provides absolution for those who have sinned. Oswald's riddle-like dialogue warns of Petrus of Thoroland, stating the following:
Hast thou acquaintance with Petrus of Thoroland? I wager you two has likely found much in common. For is he not too drenched in sin?
Okay, that laughter.
This warning implies that Petrus is a sinner, foreshadowing events that are yet to come. But for now, the chosen undead knows not to trust Petrus, however cordial he may appear.
I mean, look at his smile, guys. No, that smile is evil. You can just clearly see.
Travelling through the undead parish leads to the uncovery of a dark and deadly forest, known as the Darkroot Garden, home to the Forest Hunter Covenant and Alvina of the Darkroot Wood.
I'm Alvina of the Darkroot Wood. I command a clan of hunters who track down defilers of the forest graves. What dost thou say? Wilt thou not join us?
Alvina offers the chosen undead to join her covenant, a group of hunters working in service of protecting the forest from invaders and
Is Alvina a cat? Or was she some sort of rat? I'm not entirely sure. It just looked like a fat, hairy hairy creature. I don't know. Looked like a cat.
ensuring that the graves are not meddled with. It is likely that Alvina is in some way connected to Knight Artorius and his companion Sif. To what extent is unclear, however. The legend of Artorius is revered by many, known as the Abyss Watcher, the saviour of Oolacile. What's the implication of Alvina referring to his legend as a mere fabrication? although unknown for now, later revelations will bring clarity to such accusations. Another figure who can be found within the forest is Shiva of the East, a member of the Forest Hunter Covenant, distrusted by Alvina as she believes that he withholds self-serving desires beyond the Covenant's goals. Shiva had migrated from distant eastern lands, home to many assassins and swordsmen. The Shadow Set reveals that some eastern armor is crafted with espionage in mind for those who intend to remain incognito, whilst the Eastern Set is crafted for more traditional battles, with excellent defense against slash attacks. Shiva will only appear if the Chosen Undead agrees to join the ranks of the Forest Hunters, and would make a return in Blighttown, offering many exotic weapons for those willing to pay the price.
Get that curved sword. The curved sword. That looked cool.
Prior to this, deep within the Darkroot Garden resides one of Seath the Scaleless' many creations,
At first I thought that was him. Oh, okay.
described as being imbued with a pure magic power. The creation in question being the Moonlit Butterfly, a hostile creature with extremely strong magical abilities.
It looks like a moth instead of a butterfly. Yeah, it looks like a very beautiful moth.
Logical considering, the creator is the grandfather of sorcery, though the Moonlit Butterfly lacks in any physical prowess, and can be defeated by the Chosen Undead with little effort.
Why would it come up close to the character player like that? It has the high ground. It can shoot its energy attacks to the character player from a distance. Why is it flying close to you and then, you know, allowing itself to be attacked by the character player? I don't understand that part. I don't understand. But anyways, yeah.
Treading along, the Chosen Undead crosses paths with Laurentius of the Great Swamp, dealing with the adversity of being trapped in a barrel. If Laurentius were to be freed, like many, he would later be found in Firelink Shrine. As evidenced by his name, Laurentius comes from the Great Swamp, described by the Pyromancer set as having rugged grasslands and treacherous swamps, a relentless place occupied by many pyromancers. Those originating from the Great Swamp often travel to Lordran, as in most regions, pyromancers are frowned upon. Lordran, however, respects those who indulge in pyromancy, as after all, Lordran is home to the godmother of pyromancy, the Witch of Izalith. Before reaching Blighttown, the Chosen Undead can confront the Gaping Dragon, located in a large open chamber in the depths. This adversary is described as a distant, deformed descendant of the everlasting dragons. This is likely the result of the first flame being ignited, turning the dragon into an inferior being to those who came before. Once the fight is over, the Chosen Undead can head into Blighttown, said to be the location of the second Bell of Awakening. Whilst traversing the dark and complex pathways of the underground city, Quelana of Izalith can be found, unexpectedly retaining her human form, unlike her mother and siblings, who to some extent were transformed into demons. Prior to the catastrophe that took place in Izalith, Quelana was an avid user of fire sorcery. She, along with her sisters, are recounted as flame witches. Following the consumption of Izalith, Quelana fled the city, assuming that her mother and siblings had been killed, knowing little of the fact that they all survived.
Oh, I thought all the sisters and their mother were together when they were initiating this new creation of the flame. I thought they were all together in one spot, helping each other out to create the flame, but it seems like some of the daughters were, you know, doing other things. They weren't there with the mother helping out. Okay.
Following her escape from Izalith, Quelana became the creator of pyromancy, possibly due to the trauma caused by the creation of the Chaos Flame, opting to use a safer method instead. Quelana shared her mastery of pyromancy with her student Solomon, who then passed the knowledge onto the people of the Great Swamp, explaining why many pyromancers originate from there. In a final plea to the Chosen Undead, Quelana demands that they free the consumed souls of her mother and siblings by slaying what remains of their corrupted bodies, blissfully unaware that although formed into demons, their consciousness remains intact and not in need of salvation. if the Chosen Undead chooses to acquire pyromancies from Quailana and make a return to Firelink Shrine, Laurentius will question the Chosen Undead, asking them where they had obtained such power. If the answer is kept a secret, Laurentius will remain in Firelink. However, if informed, he will relocate to the Blighttown Swamp, where the daughter resides, in search of the power obtained by the Chosen Undead. Alas, Laurentius would later be seen wandering Blighttown as a hollow, revealing that he had failed on his quest of obtaining further power, and had lost his sanity in the process.
Man, anyone who is not the Chosen Undead is going to become a hollow, one way or another. There's no escape. One way or another, everybody here is going to become a hollow.
This sets in motion the Chosen Undead's meeting with the Chaos Witch Quelaag. The soul of Quelaag confirms that she was once daughter of the Witch of Izalith, but now a Chaos Demon, a victim to the manufactured flame that devoured Izalith. Failing to escape the city in time, she became corrupted by the fire, mutating into a part spider, part human creature. Although fused with demons, Quelaag and her young sister, the Fair Lady, managed to keep their sanity intact. When relocating from their home, Quelaag and the Fair Lady took a group of their servants with them. The servants were unfortunate to suffer from a parasitic disease, becoming afflicted with an unknown blight.
Oh my gosh. Why don't they just pop those things and scrape it off and burn it with fire or something? Ugh, yuck.
Resulting in their whole bodies becoming infested by worms. If killed, the egg-burdened will not drop souls, the worms within them will do so instead, indicating that the parasites had devoured the souls of the host. In an act of purity, the Fair Lady, despite Quelaag's disapproval, chose to suck out the blight pus from her servants.
Chose to do what? And what did she do with it? Did she drink it? Ugh.
Sacrificing her health and sight in exchange of saving them. One of the servants, named Inji, can be found in Quelaag's domain, stating the following.
There is nothing to say to you, except if you lay a hand on the Fair Lady, you should be prepared to face my wrath.
Yeah, dude. Okay.
This statement conveys the adoration the servants felt towards the Fair Lady in response to the sacrifice she made for their sake.
Yeah, no, she's a wonderful, master, if I can say that. She really tries to protect her underlings, but yeah, it's just nasty. It really is just nasty.
Quelaag now remains in Blighttown in protection of her younger sister, who became weakened and blind, making her unable to travel. With her sister's condition worsening, Quelaag has no choice but to accompany her at all times to ensure that the Fair Lady is not to be harmed by anyone. In light of this knowledge, the battle with the Chaos Witch is rather bittersweet. However, it must be fought if the Chosen Undead is to reach the second Bell of Awakening. Transitioning to the Fair Lady, she can be found hidden behind an illusionary wall following the fight, likely Quelaag's attempt at shielding her from harm. The Fair Lady acts as a firekeeper to the bonfire in the area, but is unable to communicate with the Chosen Undead unless they equip the Old Witch's ring. Equipping the ring will lead the Fair Lady to believe that the Chosen Undead is in fact her sister Quelaag, urging her to say the following.
Quelaag, please, sister, do not cry. I am happy, really. I have you, don't I?
Believing that her sister Quelaag stands before her, the Fair Lady reassures her not to cry, expressing that she is happy, although in reality, she suffers day by day, endlessly living in anguish since her sacrifice. Interestingly, she attempts to comfort herself when stating, "I have you, don't I?" trusting that her sister remains by her side during her times of need. Yet the quiver in her voice questions the very words she speaks, as she slowly begins to lose her faith in her own self, knowing deep down that her sister is gone. One day, the Fair Lady's corpse would be discovered by an Ashen One, hidden behind the veil of an illusionary wall, clasping the pyromancy tome of her sister, Quailana.
Did someone kill her?
A tale as tragic as the Fair Lady's is only matched by none other than her own brother, Ceaseless Discharge, the youngest child and only son of the Witch of Izalith. Born with sores inflamed by lava, the child was raised in hardship, invoking his sisters to enchant a ring that would ease his pain. The orange charred ring reads, since his sores were inflamed by lava from birth, his witch sisters gave him this special ring. Worsening his already dire existence, the duplication of the first flame resulted in him morphing into a large demonic creature, making him the first ever demon to come to life. Ceaseless now lingers in the demon ruins, watching over the corpse of his supposedly deceased sister, Quailana, who we now know is alive. The corpse is accompanied by Quailana's gold-hemmed black set, a uniform said to have been worn since before the Age of Fire. When traversing the ruins, Ceaseless does not become hostile towards the Chosen Undead. That is until they decide to loot the clothing of his beloved sister. His sister's clothes is all that is left for him to remember her by, his only source of comfort in a life of solitude, opting to believe that his family still watches over him till this day. Freeing him from this pitiful existence, Ceaseless Discharge is laid to rest, after suffering for 1,000 years, unaware that his sister was still alive. Finally,
Now imagine all of these people are suffering simply because people did not want to let go of the power that they willed. People did not want the world to change. People did not want to rest and allow things just to proceed naturally. That desperation to keep themselves into power has led to the suffering of so many people.
the Chosen Undead reaches their destination, ringing the second bell of awakening, and causing the gates of Sen's fortress to open, unlocking the pathway to the land of ancient gods. If the Chosen Undead is to visit the fortress prior to ringing the bells, the gate would be sealed closed, and an undead adventurer would be helplessly sat outside, unable to reach Anor Londo. The adventurer is called Siegmeyer of Katarina, travelling from a land celebrated for its cheerful residents and festivity. However, the honourable knights of Katarina aren't always given their fair dues, as they are described as being often ridiculed for their onion-like shape, infuriating the proud knights. With the gates opened, the Chosen Undead can commence on their journey, encountering various challenges every step of the way. The stone fort is said to have been built as a proving ground, a way of testing those who deem themselves worthy of setting foot in Anor Londo. Making their way through Sen's fortress, the Chosen Undead is challenged by armed guards resembling serpents, titanite demons, a diverse range of traps, and many other environmental hazards. Delving deeper into the fortress, the Chosen Undead is reunited with Siegmeyer, who's once again halted on his adventure, unable to overcome one of the many traps built within the confines of the stronghold.
Siegmeyer's armor looks a bit nice. I kind of like it. It's got like this overlapping layers to it. Even on the helmet, it looks like some sort of, I don't know. It just looks cool. Yeah.
Akin to prior events, it is up to the Chosen Undead to overcome the challenge, enabling them to solve the puzzle-like trap and pave the way for Siegmeyer's entrance into Anor Londo. Whilst manoeuvring the iron ball trap mechanism, the Chosen Undead can manipulate it to destroy a nearby wall, uncovering the whereabouts of Big Hat Logan. He's found locked in a cage, likely to have been caught by one of the traps. Rescuing Logan leads to him showing gratitude towards the Chosen Undead, and retreating to Firelink Shrine, where he accompanies Griggs of Vinheim, the sorcerer previously freed from Lower Undead Burg. Logan was a renowned sorcerer and a royal member of the Vinheim Dragon School. The description of the Soul Spear credits Logan as its creator, and details that it's a symbol of Logan's strength. The Soul Spear is referenced repeatedly in the legends, and is said to have been on par with Lord Gwyn's lightning. This puts into perspective the extent of the power that Big Hat Logan encompasses. Although extremely capable, Logan does not flaunt his stature, as he's still seen wearing his worn-out sage robe from his apprentice days at the Dragon School. Little more is known about Logan, although a conversation with a blacksmith named Rickert of Vinheim suggests that he had been undead for over a century. Could this be the very reason Logan departed from Vinheim?
Oh, Big Hat? Of course I've heard of him. Who hasn't in Vinheim? He was a royal member of Dragon School, until he turned undead. I hear he was quite the character. Only that was 100 years ago.
The final deterrent to those seeking access to Anor Londo is the Iron Golem, a guardian of Sen's fortress, referenced as a slayer of heroes who ventured forth to Anor Londo. The core of an Iron Golem is described as originally a bone of an everlasting dragon, explaining the durability of this adversary. Having said that, there was one warrior who was able to defeat this foe, Black Iron Tarkus, a knight of Berenik. The Black Iron set informs that Tarkus is a knight known for his great strength. This
Let me just write down his name here. Tarkus. Black Iron.
stands true for all knights of Berenik, as they wore heavy armour, wielded great swords, and were praised for their mighty vigour. Sad to say, the majority of the knights became undead, and ventured to Lordran to find a solution to their predicament. One at a time, the knights began to turn hollow, making them a threat to all undead beings in Lordran.
You know what must be done.
Black Iron Tarkus was an exception to this fact, resulting in him being one of the only knights to survive past Sen's fortress in his quest to cure the undead curse. In a display of virtue, Tarkus offers himself up to those who need assistance in defeating the Iron Golem, granting the Chosen Undead the ability to summon him for the fight if need be. Slaying the Iron Golem marks the end of the final challenge, giving the Chosen Undead access to the land of the gods, home to the Lordvessel that would decide the fate of the world. Anor Londo was abandoned by many since the absence of Gwyn, who left the city behind over 1,000 years ago. Yet,
Man, over 1,000 years ago, but it still looks nice. Pristine. You know, like it's being well maintained.
the kingdom appears to have maintained its beauty, as well as the preservation of its marble structure, a peculiar surprise to say the least. Perhaps
I mean, it's 1,000 years. There should be weeds growing here or something.
this is something to be investigated at a later point. Exploring the ancient land reveals the remaining guardians of Anor Londo, the Sentinels, and their higher ranking counterparts, the Royal Sentinels, who will become hostile if the Chosen Undead oversteps their boundaries. In addition, Batwing demons are present throughout the land, the same demons that provide the Chosen Undead passage into the city. Perhaps this is the extent of their duties. If so, what's the reason for their hostility? It's
But yet again I ask, I mean, weren't the demons supposed to be exterminated by the Black Knights or the Silver Knights? What are they doing here? At the capital, of all places.
possible that there are limits to where foreign beings are permitted to roam. The Batwing demons are described as unique chaos demons, as unlike others, they are imbued with lightning. Their presence in Anor Londo could also be an indication of Gwyn's alliance with the demon race. Also guarding Anor Londo are the Silver Knights, who as previously mentioned were ordered to stay behind by Gwyn in service of protecting their goddess Guinevere. Upon closer inspection, it is noticeable that Anor Londo's architecture is built with consideration for both gods and humans, as evident with the various sizes of appliances, pathways, stairs, doors, and even lifts.
So you're telling me that these guys were giants? The gods, they were giants? And then there were just regular human beings as well within the city? Oh, okay. But what is she doing here all alone? I mean, if the city is abandoned, Guinevere is just here with the knights, the Silver Knights. Like, what? What are you guys doing here? Who's preparing her food? Who's making sure her room is clean? You know, all these other types of amenities that are required for you to survive in such a big city. Is she doing it herself? Are the knights helping her out? This is very strange. This place is abandoned, but it still looks so pristine, well kept. And Guinevere is still here.
This indicates that the capital was more accommodating than what was previously thought, and was likely home to both gods and humans. Approaching a nearby bonfire leads to the introduction to the Dark Moon Knightess, a gatekeeper and guide to outside travellers. At this moment, little is known about the Knightess, besides the fact that she's a firekeeper, and possibly originated from Karim. This can be speculated based on her weapon of choice being a parry and dagger, a favourite of the Knights of Karim, who are famous for fighting without a shield. Surveying the area, the corpse of Black Iron Tarkus, the Honourable Knight of Berenik, can be found within a giant hall of painting guardians, likely to have fallen off the narrow rafters, if not through one of the windows leading to the hall, a pitiful end to an otherwise decorated knight. If not for the involvement of the Chosen Undead, another knight would have met their fate in Anor Londo, as Siegmeyer, the Onion Knight previously encountered, is now in need of rescuing from imminent death.
Again? Okay, this guy. I still like his armor set, but he's getting himself into trouble here.
Siegmeyer can be found trapped in a room with a collective of Silver Knights awaiting his exit. The Chosen Undead deals with the Silver Knights, clearing the way for Siegmeyer to continue on his journey.
They look like bronze knights, you know? The armor set looks bronze or gold in color instead of silver. It's nice.
Interestingly, before departing, Siegmeyer says, "Next time give me a chance to come up with a plan." The slight aggression hints at his frustration with being saved. The prideful knight that he is would rather use his resolve to overcome an obstacle, or at least die trying, than to be constantly indebted to the Chosen Undead. Within a giant cathedral in Anor Londo reside the greatest threat yet to be faced, Dragon Slayer Ornstein and Executioner Smough. As we already know, Ornstein was once a member of the Four Knights of Gwyn. After the gods abandoned Anor Londo, Ornstein alongside Smough remained stationed to guard its cathedral, and with it, the Princess of Sunlight, Guinevere. Executioner Smough desired to be a member of Gwyn's Knights. However, he was rejected due to his unhinged behaviour and maniacal joy in being an executioner. Smough's hammer describes him as such. Smough loved his work, and ground the bones of his victims into his own feed, ruining his hopes of being ranked with the Four Knights. The implication that Smough possessed cannibalistic tendencies likely led to him being regarded as nothing more than a savage, unworthy of being amongst Gwyn's ranked knights. With his wild nature, it is no surprise that if Ornstein is to be defeated first in the fight, Smough crushes his body to absorb his power, with little respect shown to his compadre. If the roles were to be reversed, Ornstein would place his hand on Smough's body as a gesture of respect before absorbing his power, a clear difference in their moral disposition.
Yeah, like night and day. Night and day. Ooh. Whoa, who is this? It's a big lady. Oh, it must be Guinevere, right? Wow, she's big.
Upon defeating the pair, Princess Guinevere reveals herself, claiming that the Chosen Undead's duty is to succeed her father Gwyn, and
Isn't she the princess of light or sunlight? Where is the light shining on her face? We want to see your face, Guinevere. What's going on? What's going on? Show us your face.
inherit the fire of their world. She pleads that they must end the eternal twilight, as the world without fire shall be a frigid and frightful dark. In addition to this, Guinevere provides the Chosen Undead with a Lordvessel, a means to link the flame and prolong the Age of Fire. The Lordvessel is bestowed upon the Chosen Undead, who is destined to succeed Lord Gwyn. To open the final door, place this vessel on the Firelink altar and fill it with powerful souls. These instructions suggest that the Chosen Undead must acquire the soul of Gravelord Nito and the Bed of Chaos, as well as the souls of Seath Scaleless and the Four Kings, which previously belonged to Gwyn before he fragmented his soul and gifted it to them.
Wait a minute. Didn't Gwyn also give a fragment of his soul to Guinevere? Means you have to get the soul from her too. Means you have to kill her too. You have to kill her too. This lady cannot escape this fate as well. She must also bite the bullet, if I should say it like that. Yeah. Because Gwen gave a fragment of his soul to a lot of people, including her daughter. His daughter, I mean. Guinevere.
Placing the 4 souls on the altar will grant access to the Kiln of the First Flame, where the fate of the world will be decided. If the Chosen Undead was to be oblivious to the synthetic behaviour of Guinevere, or as previously mentioned, the unnatural preservation of Anor Londo for the past millennia, they would leave the capital in pursuit of required Lord Souls. However, with further investigation, it is revealed that the entire construction of Anor Londo, along with Princess Guinevere herself, is naught but a grand illusion, a facade orchestrated by none other than Dark Sun Gwyndolin, the last born of Lord Gwyn. Gwyndolin is the last remaining god and protector of the forsaken city of Anor Londo.
So, Guinevere does not exist. It's actually Gwyndolin? Okay.
The Moonlight Robe explains that Gwyndolin was raised as a daughter due to the power of the moon being strong within him. With his father being the Lord of Sunlight, he likely viewed Gwyndolin, or rather all who were affiliated with the moon's power, as inferior, resulting in Gwyndolin being treated less than adequately by his father. It is probable that the moon is also a reminder of the inevitable age of darkness.
Man, this father really was cruel to his own children. The eldest son, he betrayed the father. We don't really know the reasons why, but probably it was something bad that Gwen did, or something that the firstborn son realized about his father. And then the second child, he sent her off to become essentially like a prison warder for the humans in the city on the edge. What was it called again? I forgot what this name of the city was. But essentially, he sent his daughter off to become a prison warder. And now Gwyndolin here has been treated badly by his father as well. Simply because he was born under the moon. And probably he didn't really have the physical prowess of like his firstborn son. And thus he treated him badly. Terrible father.
Of Gwyn's existence. Gwyndolin now leads the Blade of the Dark Moon Covenant, which was created to punish the guilt-soaked offenders of the gods. Upon punishing the offenders, members of the Covenant would take the victim's ear as proof of their conquest and provide it to Gwyndolin in exchange for having their rank increased, leaving the earless corpses as a warning to others, inspiring both fear and respect for the gods. The Dark Moon Blade Covenant Ring states, Gwyndolin, all too aware of his repulsive, frail appearance, created the illusion of a sister Guinevere, who helps him guard over Anor Londo. An unmasking of these deities would be tantamount to blasphemy. To pull back the veil placed upon Anor Londo, one must destroy the illusion of Guinevere, resulting in the city darkening, and Dark Moon soldiers being deployed by Gwyndolin to hunt down a chosen undead.
So the city is darkening, however, the place is still in pristine order, if I can say that. Like, there's no weeds growing, there's no dust on the floor, there are no buildings that are just dilapidated and collapsing in on themselves. The place is still pretty much the same, just that the skies have darkened. Okay, interesting.
Alternatively, the illusion can be maintained, using this as an opportunity to deceive Gwyndolin, posing as an adherent who wishes to join the Blade of the Dark Moon Covenant. To achieve this, one must acquire the Dark Moon Seance Ring, which is outlined as a ring that is granted to adherents of Gwyndolin. Once the ring is equipped, the Chosen Undead is able to approach Gwyndolin's sanctum within the Dark Moon Tomb, under the guise of an ally, only to betray Gwyndolin by traversing through the fog and slaying the last remaining deity in Anor Londo. Or at least that's what the Chosen Undead is led to believe, as many years later, it is revealed that Gwyndolin was devoured by Saint Aldridge of the Deep. The Master of Illusions ironically turned out to be no more than an illusion himself.
Man, an illusion within an illusion. Huh?
Defeating Gwyndolin will result in the Dark Moon Knightess becoming hostile, forcing the Chosen Undead's hand in engaging the Firekeeper. the brass set explains the sudden change of alliance from the Knightess, expressing that, after becoming undead, she visited the Dark Sun Gwyndolin at the Mausoleum of the Spiral Depths, became a Blade of the Dark Moon, and assumed the flame-keeping duty. She received this armor, which hides her hideous form and helps her hunt the guilty. In her eyes, the Chosen Undead is the guilty, committing the worst sin imaginable by way of slaughtering her god, which she had placed all her faith in. Becoming aware of the illusion placed on Anor Londo, it is logical to begin questioning all that had taken place this far. To what extent had reality been altered in favour of displaying a model city? Ornstein's armour originally states that he had remained in the Grand Cathedral. However, many years later, studying the Dragon Slayer set will bring light to the possibility that the Ornstein faced in Anor Londo is in fact a creation of Gwyndolin, another pawn within the Grand Illusion.
And if Ornstein is an illusion, then definitely Smaug is also an illusion. Yeah.
Dragon Slayer set reads, "In the Dragonless Age, this knight, who long guarded the ruined cathedral, left the land in search of the Nameless King. Smough may have also been an illusion." Reinforcing this theory is the description of Smough's armour, which references Smough as an executioner. However, many years later, Smough's armour would refer to him as the last knight to stand in defence of the ruined cathedral. How could he have risen to the rank of knight if the Chosen Undead had killed him in Anor Londo? Perhaps, soon after Ornstein left the cathedral, the real Smough followed suit, and at some point became worthy of the rank of knight. The mystery remains to be, what had happened to the real Ornstein if the one encountered is an imitation? One theory suggests that following Gwyn's sacrifice, Ornstein departed from the ruined cathedral to reunite with his former master, the Nameless King. This is probable, as it is known that the Nameless King had trained the 4 Knights of Gwyn prior to being banished for his betrayal of the gods. This is noticeable when comparing the combat styles of Ornstein and the Nameless King, both opting to use similar weaponry, movesets and miracles. However, the fact that his armour can be discovered in Archdragon Peak suggests an untimely death, birthing a second theory that proposes that Ornstein had left the cathedral to hunt down the Nameless King, only to be slain by him instead. Regardless of whether Ornstein's intentions were to hunt down the Nameless King or join him, the expedition most likely resulted in his death. Perhaps the Nameless King had turned hollow and could no longer identify the difference between friend and foe. To think that after all the years past, Gwyn's firstborn still haunts the lives of those he betrayed, leading to Ornstein choosing to end a chapter of his life that had long been left unfinished. Remnants of the Nameless King still exist in Lordran until this day, as within the very cathedral that Ornstein was guarding, there are alcoves of 3 statues, 2 of them depicting Gwyn and his daughter Guinevere, with the third being hollow. The Sunlight Altar, although destroyed, depicts the fallen god of war. No wonder the wyvern safeguards the bridge leading to the altar, a reminder of the firstborn son of Gwyn, a warrior that once belonged amongst royalty, still worshipped by those who believed in him. Amidst the wealth of history discovered in Anor Londo also lies a world concealed from all life, the painted world of Ariamis, placed amidst the painting guardians, who have guarded the great paintings of Ariamis for ages, passing their duty down through the generations. But the reason for
Painting of Aramis. Okay. Not sure I understand what that means. Aramis. Okay.
doing so passed from all memory long ago. The painted world was created as a refuge for the lost souls of various creatures.
Painted world. Okay, so then how do you get into this painted world? Is there like a portrait, a portal portrait that you just jump into and then you're in this painted world? It's like a simulation, like the Matrix, if I can say that, but with paint. Okay?
Since the inception of the undead curse, countless beings had either hollowed or lost their purpose in life, with their souls going astray. They aimlessly wander the lands in hopes of finding guidance. Over time, word spread of a painted world that welcomes all beings without a home, and so the painted world became popular amongst abandoned souls. Some believe that the true purpose of the world was to hide the existence of crossbreed Priscilla, a being neither god nor human. Priscilla is described as a dragon crossbreed, a bastard child of Seath the Scaleless, who had
who had sex with Sithis? Or how? Who? This is madness. This is madness. Seth, how? Who is your consort? Why weren't we ever told of your consort?
been trapped in the painted world. Priscilla wields a life hunt scythe, a weapon that cultivated enough power to warrant the fear of the gods. The scythe could not be wielded by all beings, as in the hands of a mortal, its power will turn upon its wielder. The weapon inflicted bleed onto those who carry it, making it accessible only to beings powerful enough to bear that burden. For the Chosen Undead to access the painted world, they would have to acquire a peculiar doll, likely the only remaining item to connect Priscilla to the real world. The doll reads, "There once was an abomination who had no place in this world. She clutched this doll tightly and eventually was drawn into a cold and lonely painted world." To obtain the doll, the Chosen Undead must return to where their pilgrimage began, the Northern Undead Asylum.
Oh my gosh, now it's like a long journey back to where you first began. Or maybe there is a fast point. Like there's a map and then you can just click to where you want to go and then poof, you're there. Maybe.
Now hosting a stray demon, since the previous guardian had been slaughtered. Moving forward, the Chosen Undead encounters an old ally.
Oscar,
Knight of Astora, the honorable warrior who rescued the Chosen Undead and
he has to die. He's probably a hollow right now.
set them off on their journey. Sadly, Oscar is no longer that person, as the despair of being unable to escape the asylum led to Oscar losing his sanity. Unable to overcome the very first obstacle he encountered, Oscar had lost all sense of self, and consequently turned hollow. The Chosen Undead is once again placed in a position where he must free a soul trapped in a hollow body.
I did say that anyone the Chosen Undead meets will eventually become a hollow, one way or another. You can try and save them, you can try and give them some sort of support or advice or something, but one way or another, they will find themselves in a situation where you as the Chosen Undead are not there to help them, and they will turn into a hollow. And then somehow, some way, you will meet up with them again and you have to kill them. Man, this game.
Following this demoralizing encounter, the Chosen Undead acquires the peculiar doll, now able to access the painted world of Ariamis. The painted world is undoubtedly associated with Valka, goddess of sin. She is described as a rogue god, whose duty was to define sin and administer punishment accordingly. She does, however, offer absolution through her pardoners, one being Oswald of Karim, who the Chosen Undead had already crossed paths with.
Why is she a rogue god? What did she do? Why is she rebellious?
Within the painted world, many items attributed to the goddess of sin can be found, one being the black cleric robe, described as a robe worn by pardoners serving Valka, the goddess of sin. The clerics also used Valka's rapier, further linking them to the goddess. The Ring of Sacrifice references a sacrificial rite of Valka, showing the extent of the influence she had on her followers. The influence extended beyond those who worshipped her, as the Vow of Silence explains that Valka is versed in arts both new and old, and is considered to have a great range of influence, even as gods are concerned. Whilst exploring the painted world, crow demons can be seen surrounding a dark ember, located on a petrified corpse of a blacksmith. Dark embers are used to ascend occult weapons. The fact that crows are a symbol of Valka Coupled with the knowledge that Velka's rapier is imbued with occult power, it is highly possible that Velka was to some degree involved with the occult rebellion. Her betrayal of the gods could be why she's referred to as a rogue deity. To prevent further rebellions against the gods, at a point in time, the church long hid the forbidden black ember, and no living blacksmith knows of it. Reaching the finale of the Painted World, the Chosen Undead approaches crossbreed Priscilla, residing in an arena at the end of a partially destroyed bridge. Not knowing the trespasser's intentions, she remains non-hostile and offers the Chosen Undead a chance to leave her world to avoid conflict.
Who?
Wow, she has a tail, she has legs, she has a scythe, of course, and she does actually kind of look like Seth, with her hair and her skin and even her clothing. Who is the consort? Who's your mother? I need to know. We need to know. Okay?
Art thou? One of us thou art not. If thou hast misstepped into this world, plunge down from the plank and hurry home. If thou seekest I, thine desires shall be requited not. Thou must returneth whence thou came.
I mean, if she doesn't have a piece of Gwen's soul, then there's no point in us fighting her, right? She doesn't have anything of value that is required for the mission, so...
This land is peaceful, its inhabitants kind, but thou dost not belong. I beg of thee, plunge down from the plank and hurry home.
Ignorant to what had become of the Painted World, she pleads that this land is peaceful, its inhabitants kind, contradicting the residents' actions towards the Chosen Undead. Perhaps the
Because you're an intruder. Like, no one wants people who are not invited.
residents are peaceful, but see the outsider as a threat, and so they collectively fight to protect Priscilla by attacking the Chosen Undead at every opportunity. Although Priscilla had been living in solitude for centuries, confining herself to the tower, her intentions remain pure, as in her eyes, her world still serves the purpose it had initially set out to fulfill. It is now up to the Chosen Undead. Do they put an end to the Painted World that had long protected those who were cast out, or leave the residents to exist in peace, as what resides in the painting is no business of the undead anyway?
Yeah, I'd rather just leave without interfering any further. I have no business being here. There's nothing here for the mission, so...
Why could thou not let us be? Didst thou not see why Ariamis created this world?
In the end, the world of Ariamis began to rot, and another painter was chosen to create a new world in place of the rotten one. All the residents of the old world succumbed to their death, likely Priscilla too. What had become of Ariamis remains unknown, as he may have rotted away along with the very world he painted.
Yeah, well, at least you as the player character are not involved in that, situation where they all died. You have no business being in there anyways. So if they died due to natural causes, like the paint, the portrait or the painting just starts molding and starts rotting away, then, that's just what's supposed to happen. Yeah.
Now that the Lordvessel has been obtained, the Chosen Undead can continue their journey. In Firelink's shrine, a primordial serpent named Kingseeker Framt appears, who...
Is this a different voice that's now speaking? Yeah, sounds different. Anyways.
reveals the following.
As Kingseeker, I shall now instruct you, the Lord's successor, in your next task.
What are you supposed to be? What are you? You look weird. I don't know what you are, honestly.
Achieve your fate, commensurate to the great soul of Gwyn. Scarce few possess such brilliant souls. Grave Lord Nito, the Witch of Izalith, the 4 kings of New Londo, who inherited the shards of Gwyn's soul, and Lord Gwyn's former confidant, Seath the Scaleless. All of their souls are required to satiate the Lordvessel.
Here we learn that the Lordvessel must be utilised in order to link the fire. Framt's goal is to seek a king, someone who will link the flame and extend the Age of Fire, in the name of Gwyn. However, there is another path. Darkstalker Karth also requires the Lordvessel and the Chosen Undead's help, but not to link the fire, but to let the flame fade instead. At first glance it appears that Framt represents the light, the fire and the gods, whereas Karth symbolises the dark, humanity and a plan to end the fading age of gods. The serpents are inexplicably linked to the conclusion of the Chosen Undead's fate. To obtain a soul of lords is no easy task, as the Chosen Undead will have to slay the very beings that overthrew the everlasting dragons, as well as venture into the abyss itself. Seath the Scaleless resides in the Duke's Archives, a landmark situated high above. Its elevated position can be seen from the Undead Parish. The Duke's Archives, as the name suggests, is a large library, housing many books and artifacts, a paradise for a scholar like Seath, in his never-ending hunt for immortality.
Does Seath even care that his child is gone? Did he even know that he had a child? Instead, he's here obsessed with becoming immortal and becoming the most powerful magical being in Lordrand.
When the Chosen Undead encounters the Pale Dragon for the first time, he appears to be invincible, immune to all forms of offense, suggesting he had discovered the secret to immortality. As a result, the Chosen Undead falls and wakes up in a cell. Here lies the abducted victims of Seath's experiments. The 6-eyed channelers would aid Seath in abducting residents of Lordran, forcing them to become test subjects.
So the prison is built into the library. Wow.
Considering Seath was blind, the channelers' helms were adorned with 6 eyes arranged in 2 vertical columns, as this compensated for Seath's lack of sight. In order to keep the abductees from leaving, the man-serpents were stationed as guards. In addition,
I like how it uses its neck as more support just to pull down the lever. Wow, okay.
The archives were converted into a prison, as confirmed by the Archive Tower cell key. The Archive Tower, once a trove of precious tomes and letters, became a prison after the onset of Seath's madness. Interesting that Seath had lost his sanity after discovering immortality. Further,
is he a hollow?
More, the Archive Giant Cell key states, the giant cell once imprisoned countless maidens, but is now empty, save for a few key persons. The maidens referred to here are most likely the Pisakas. Although several of the Pisakas are hostile, 2 can be found, weeping in a corner, who will only retaliate when harmed. When slain, these 2 will drop the miracles Soothing Sunlight and Bountiful Sunlight. According to the description of the items, these were the miracles of Guinevere, suggesting that the Pisakas were once maidens to the daughter of Gwyn. This also explains why a 6-eyed channeler is stationed in the Undead Parish, as many maidens would pass through the church. Big Hat Logan appears to be amongst the prisoners of the Archive. First, he was caught in Sen's fortress, and it appears he has been captured once again. Once freed, Logan will move deeper into the library. Logan comments on the cruel experiments conducted by Seath, stating that all progress demands sacrifice, appearing to be in support of his actions, if the ends justify the means. He will now sell crystal sorceries to the Chosen Undead, boosted sorceries created with his newfound knowledge. He then unveils a secret to Seath's immortality.
Ah, the secret of Seath's immortality. If you have fought him and were in prison, you must know that Seath is a true undead, different from ourselves. His wounds close promptly, and no mortal blow affects him, granting true insulation from death. It is an effect of the primordial crystal, a sacred treasure pillaged by Seath when he turned upon the ancient dragons. So only by destroying the primordial crystal can you so much as scratch his hide. And it so happens, the primordial crystal is in the inner garden of these very archives, the Crystal Forest.
Should the Chosen Undead acquire all of the sorceries on offer, Big Hat Logan will say the following.
Who are you? Stay clear of my work. Curses upon you. How dare you disturb me?
Whatever Logan learned in the Duke's archives drove him mad, as the knowledge he gained was too much to bear.
Yeah, because now all of a sudden his voice has changed, his demeanor has changed.
Then navigates back to the first area where Seath was encountered. Here it appears that Logan has lost his sanity, stripped of his clothing and fighting like a madman. It should be noted that Logan is not hollow here, but instead has actually lost his sanity. Just as Seath went mad after obtaining immortality, so did Big Hat Logan, only his pursuit was for sorcery and spells, a woeful end to the famous sorcerer. Leaving the archives behind, the Chosen Undead navigates through a small crystal forest. Here, we see crystal golems scattered around the area. One of the golems in particular is golden in colour, identical to another in Darkroot Basin. Once killed, a knight in a set of Katarina armour appears and
Is that Sigmir? Oh my gosh. We just meet these people, huh? They just keep popping up.
states,
"It was you who rescued me. Why, thank you. Oh, have you seen my father?
Oh, okay, so you're Sigmir's daughter? Oh, okay. You still sound like a child. What is the child doing on the battlefield? Oh, man.
You wouldn't miss him. A suit of armor just like mine."
If the Chosen Undead says
She's cute.
yes, she will say the following.
"Thank goodness. I knew he was here somewhere. Well then, now I must find him."
I can see her face through that slit on the mask. Ah.
"Thanks again, truly."
Siegland is in pursuit of her father, Siegmeyer. Why she is doing this, we cannot know at this time. Now in the Crystal Caves, the Chosen Undead encounters moonlight butterflies and more crystal golems. It is worth noting that these creations of Seath can also be found in Darkroot Basin. This is due to his interest towards Oolacile sorcery, as Oolacile became Darkroot Basin over time. Eventually, the Chosen Undead confront Seath the Scaleless. Only this time, it appears that the Chosen Undead has stumbled across something of importance to Seath. So valuable is this item that Seath descends into the caves to protect it.
The primordial crystal.
In this room lies the primordial crystal, the secret of Seath's immortality. This object granted him the long life he desired. He was envious of the other dragons and their everlasting lifespan. However, with this crystal, he could replicate the immortality provided by the stone dragon scales. Using the knowledge obtained from Big Hat Logan, the Chosen Undead shatters the primordial crystal, turning Seath into a mortal. Should the Chosen Undead sever the tail of the beast, the Moonlight Greatsword will fall into their possession. The description of the sword notes that Seath is the grandfather of sorcery, making it clear as to why Big Hat Logan had a particular interest in Seath. It is also worth mentioning that sorceries, such as the Soul Arrow spell, are particularly effective against the stone scales of dragons, hinting that Seath pioneered sorcery to aid in the slaughter of his own kind. No wonder the scholar sorcerers of Vinheim named their dragon school of sorcery the Vinheim Dragon School. The Chosen Undead then slays the pale dragon, and obtains the bequeathed Lord Soul Shard given to him by Gwyn. We now move to New Londo Ruins to acquire the next Lord Soul. Before crossing the bridge, a hollow in chainmail armor can be seen. This hollow is the crestfallen warrior from Firelink Shrine. He left the shrine as he was sick of the smell produced by the serpent's framps. It seems that during his investigation to uncover the source of the smell, he turned hollow. Ironic that once he had somewhat a purpose, he lost his will to live. Moreover, several hollows can be seen worshipping something. Upon closer inspection, we can see that they are kneeling before the sunlight, emanating from a small crevice above, potentially signifying their devotion to the light, to Lord Gwyn. Exploring deeper in New Londo Ruins, the Chosen Undead discovers ghosts haunting the area. These ghosts can only be engaged when consuming a transient curse, as the only way to fight back against ghosts, who are cursed beings, is to become cursed yourself. Some of these ghosts can be seen holding babies and can cast lightning, miracles similar to Gwyn's bolts.
They're carrying babies? Oh, okay.
Eventually, the Chosen Undead will come across a sealer known as Ingrid. He states,
New Londo was sacrificed to contain the Dark Wraiths. Mark my words, the Dark Wraiths are the enemies of man and any living thing that has a soul. They were never meant to roam again. The four kings slumber in the deepest chamber of the ruins. Use this key to break the seal and open the floodgates. Oh, and do not forget, the Dark Wraiths reside in a dark void called the Abyss. But the Abyss is no place for ordinary mortals. Although, long ago, the knight Artorius traversed the Abyss. If you can find him and learn from him, the Abyss may prove surmountable.
Ingrid seems to think that Artorius is alive, a testament to how his true fate was erased from history. His dialogue also brings much needed clarity to the state of New Londo. But what exactly caused the city and its residents to descend into the dark? Ingrid answers this also.
When an evil serpent dangled the art of life drain before them, they were unable to resist and became pawns of evil.
Inspired by Anor Londo, the city was a home for the undead. Interestingly, the inhabitants of the city appear to respect the goddess of sin, Velka, as seen with the statues and items found throughout the ruins. Strange that the four kings may have potentially worshipped Velka, a goddess who was shunned by the other gods, whose mention was mostly confined to the painted world. Nevertheless, the city was ruled by the four kings who fell to the dark. It seems that the four kings were accepting of the power bestowed upon them by Gwyn. Gwyn most likely did not provide the four kings a piece of the Lord's soul out of generosity, but as a means to turn them to his side. Perhaps he knew of the rebellion brewing, how the four kings may have wanted to rid the world of gods by utilising the dark. Luckily, it was possible to flood New Londo entirely, should an uprising need to be quelled. Or perhaps it wasn't luck at all, and Gwyn had this purposely installed. It is doubtful that New Londo was created without Gwyn's consent. It was
I suspect that Gwyn definitely, ordered for the city to be submerged into water as a security measure. If there was going to be any potential rebellion from these kings, I'm positive that he would have done something like that. I mean, someone who's capable of sacrificing his children, or should I say one daughter, to become some sort of prison warden, keeping humans in a time dilation field, and is able to do whatever means necessary to make sure that his hegemony continues and the Age of Fire continues, no matter the cost. I'm sure he would be prepared to kill a lot of people, an entire city worth of people, to make sure that his hegemony continues. So yeah, I think he submerged the city in water as a preemptive measure.
Inspired by his city after all. Despite having received the bequeathed Lord Soul Shard, the kings were still tempted by the power of the dark. The spread of the dark gave rise to the Dark Wraiths, warriors who were once the knights of the four kings. Their armour appears to have crow feathers interwoven, another symbol of Velka. As always, when the Abyss and the Dark are mentioned, Karth is never far behind. The four kings and their knights were enticed by the words of the Darkstalker. How could they not be? After all, New Londo was a city of humans, living under the gods in an age which was rightfully theirs. Harnessing the power of the Dark Soul, the Dark Wraiths used their life drain ability to consume humanity from their enemies. Every Dark Wraith is part of a covenant of the same name, led by none other than the Darkstalker Karth. The power of life drain was feared by the gods, as evidenced by crossbreed Priscilla, who's locked away in the painted world. This ability was taught to the Dark Wraiths and the Four Kings by Karth. It is possible that he learnt this power from Priscilla. Posing a significant threat, Ingrid and the other sealers flooded New Londo ruins, killing everyone within, including civilians. The aim was to submerge the Dark Wraiths and the Four Kings underwater, as they were too dangerous to confront. Thousands of corpses can be seen throughout the haunted ruins, indicating the devastation that took place. The Mask of the Sealer states, Mask of the sorcerers who flooded New Londo to seal away the Dark Wraiths and the Four Kings, who descended into dark. It symbolises their resolve to keep the seal shut forever, and their atonements for all who were sacrificed. But
okay, so maybe Gwen did not order this to happen, but clearly his subordinates found it within themselves and, decided that this should happen. Okay.
2 of the 3 forsook New Londo upon tiring of their duty. Interestingly, it appears that there were 2 additional sealers who abandoned their duties. One's attire can be found in Blighttown, the other can be seen accompanying Lordtrek in Anor Londo, the abandonment of their mask signifying their desertion. Ingrid will then provide the Chosen Undead with the key to the seal, to open the floodgates and drain the city, gaining access to the Four Kings. The key states, the sealers flooded New Londo to banish the Dark Wraiths and the Four Kings. The agonizing decision was made with the realization that countless lives and the robust culture of the city would be lost. The victims now roam the ruins as ghosts. With the Covenant of Artorias in hand, the Chosen Undead descends into the Abyss, a familiar place. Here the Chosen Undead comes face to face with the Four Kings and defeats them, the once noble kings of nothing but a memory. With the Four Kings bested,
But we just saw one king. Or is his name the Four Kings? I'm wondering. Because we just saw one king.
Makes an appearance for the first time. He departs some wisdom unto the Chosen Undead.
I can guide thee and illuminate the truth. Undead warrior, conqueror of the Four Kings, is this not your wish? To know the truth of men and the undead? The truth I shall share without sentiment. After the advent of fire, the ancient lords found the 3 souls, but your progenitor found a 4th, unique soul, the Dark Soul. Your ancestor claimed the Dark Soul and waited for fire to subside, and soon the flames did fade, and only dark remained. Thus began the Age of Men, the Age of Dark. However, Lord Gwyn trembled at the dark, clinging to his Age of Fire and in dire fear of humans, and the Dark Lord who would one day be born amongst them. Lord Gwyn resisted the course of nature by sacrificing himself to link the fire and commanding his children to shepherd the humans. Gwyn has blurred your past to prevent the birth of the Dark Lord. I am the primordial serpent. I seek to right the wrongs of the past, to discover our true Lord. But the other serpent, Fraught, lost his sense and befriended Lord Gwyn. Undead warrior, we stand at a crossroads. Only I know the truth about your fate. You must destroy the fading Lord Gwyn, who has coddled fire and resisted nature, and become the 4th Lord, so that you may usher in an age of dark.
Karth provides an alternate objective to Kingseeker Fraught. To recap, Fraught states that the fate of an undead is to succeed Gwyn and extend the Age of Fire, but Karth reveals that this is a lie, a ploy from the gods to extend their age, to prevent the Age of Dark, also known as the Age of Humanity.
Decisions. I would rather choose the Age of Darkness. The Age of Fire has had its chance twice. It had its chance. It's done now. It's finished. Let's go for the Age of Darkness.
Predicament indeed for the Chosen Undead. The Chosen Undead descends into the catacombs, located past the graveyard in Firelink Shrine. Skeletons inhabit the majority of the catacombs and can only be slain with either a divine weapon or by killing the necromancer that raises them. During the descent into the tombs, the Chosen Undead comes across trusty Patches. Lord Trek warned the Chosen Undead previously that Patches is not to be trusted. He is a mischievous swindler who will stop at nothing to get the treasures he desires. Speaking to Patches reveals that he has a particular disdain towards clerics. Regardless, Patches will attempt to kill the Chosen Undead by flipping a bridge whilst they are still on it. Having survived this, the Chosen Undead can approach Patches, who will feign ignorance and give the Chosen Undead a soul of a lost undead, compensation for a crime he apparently did not commit. However,
man, look at his face.
This is not the last we see of trusty Patches. Further down, the Chosen Undead encounters a blacksmith called Vamos. He appears to be a very reclusive smith, so reclusive in fact that no one else acknowledges his existence. Obsessed with his work, Vamos has little time for conversation. Although not much is known about this mysterious figure, the royal helm states the helm is believed to belong to an ancient royal line, but only Vamos would know for sure, and he shall never speak again. Unfortunately, Vamos has chosen to never speak of this, and so not much is known about the skeletal blacksmith. Deeper still lies a large coffin housing an entity known as Pinwheel. It appears that this being has 3 heads and 6 arms. When the Chosen Undead confronts Pinwheel, the heads appear to gaze at each other as if they are deciding the fate of the Chosen Undead. Pinwheel turns hostile and prepares for battle. The creature is strangely fragile and falls with relative ease. Upon his death, he will either drop the mask of the father, mother, or child. The masks state that Pinwheel was a necromancer who stole the power of the Gravelord and reigns over the catacombs. Pinwheel also drops one additional item, the Rite of Kindling. The description states this secret rite allows bonfires to be bolstered further with kindling, so that even more Estus can be collected. How peculiar that humans had found little use for humanity until they turned undead. The 3 masks worn by Pinwheel suggest that the frame is a combination of 3 bodies and minds. One theory is that Pinwheel was once a family that somehow fused together. Perhaps one of the family members died, and in an attempt to bring them back to life, they stole the power of the Gravelord and tried to revive their deceased loved ones. However,
I mean, shouldn't the deceased loved one return as an undead? I thought it affected everyone. The curse.
This resulted in a morbid resurrection. Surrounding Pinwheel is a vast collection of books and skeletons, all of which are ensnared in chains. One can even be seen laying on the operating table, almost as if the Chosen Undead had interrupted an experiment of some kind. Potentially, Pinwheel resurrected his family, but was finding a way to separate the 3 fused bodies, to complete the process of resurrection. The Mask of the Father raises equipment load, representing how the father metaphorically, or perhaps even quite literally as Pinwheel, carried his family. The Mask of the Mother raises health, symbolizing how she raised the morale of the family. Lastly, the Mask of the Child raises the speed at which stamina is recovered, a symbol of a child's energetic nature. Pinwheel also appears to be someone of importance to Nito, as statues of him can be seen throughout the area. An empty coffin is also located next to Nito, suggesting that Pinwheel may have been the highest rank amongst those in the tombs. Another, more compelling theory also exists. The effigy's shield states the followers of the occult once attempted to steal the power of the Gravelord, the first of the dead. Of course, we now know that Pinwheel was indeed successful in stealing the power of the Gravelord. Could it be that he was one of the leaders of the occult? Nito may have...
I don't know about this part of him, taking power from the Death Lord, from Nito. I just find that very hard to believe. I think maybe Nito allowed this to occur, as punishment of some sort. Of how dare you, think that you can come down here and take a portion of my power. I will teach you a lesson, one you will never forget. I think maybe that's what happened. I don't think Nito would have just allowed someone just to come there and, take a portion of his powers.
Develop the rites of kindling in order to bolster the bonfires, as extending the age of fire would lead to the undead sacrificing themselves, leading to more deaths, which was his domain. The Way of White may have utilised this as well in worship of Gwyn. Through this meticulous plan, Gwyn could continue to rule over the light while Nito ruled over death. The Way of White was assisting Nito in retrieving the stolen rights, as evidenced by Rhea's journey. It is worth noting that Paladin Leroy, the first undead produced by the Way of White, assists the Chosen Undead in slaying Pinwheel, but will defend Nito, suggesting that he was only aiding in the retrieval of the rites of kindling. The rites also suggest that Gwyn and Nito worked together to ensure the Age of Fire would never end. Further,
I mean, that's no surprise. I mean, if the Age of Fire is gone, Nito also loses his power and authority and his godhood, if I can say that. It's not just going to affect Gwyn and his offspring and the other demigods or gods that work with him. It will affect everyone, including Nito.
reinforced by the existence of bonfires, which are created with the bones of the undead, a masterful plan to fool humanity into fueling the Age of Fire. No wonder that Pinwheel decided to steal the secret rites in order to prevent further kindling and ultimately to let the fires fade. Perhaps this is why he conducts experiments on the skeletons to better understand the process of death. At this point, the Chosen Undead discovers the Tomb of the Giants, a pitch-black cavern filled with large skeletons. From this cavern, we can see Lost Izalith in the distance.
Nito, Judgment Day is on its way. Judgment Day for you is on its way.
It is here that the Chosen Undead bumps into Patches once more. Yet again, he tricks the Chosen and sends them spiralling into a ditch. In this hole, we discover Rhea of Thoroland, as well as her two cleric knights, Vince and Nico, both of which have become hollow and attack the Chosen Undead, who swiftly puts an end to them. Strangely, Petrus appears to be absent. Rhea, now saved, returns to Undead Parish. It seems her mission to obtain the rites of kindling has failed. If Patches is left alive, he will return to Firelink Shrine, where he will sell all types of trinkets, including the armor worn by Vince and Nico.
He needs to go. He needs to die.
Patches will also warn the Chosen Undead about Petrus.
Wait, have you met Petrus? That self-proclaimed cleric? Believe me on this one, bruv. The man is scum. Don't you be fooled by his claims to do good. They're all the same, those rotten clerics.
Rhea, at this point, can be discovered in the Undead Parish, where she is grateful to her saviour and offers to sell miracles. If Petrus is informed of the rescue, he will state,
"Oh, it's you. You rescued milady. Well, a pity that is, for it will amount to nothing. For the little madam is not worth her salt without her family name."
Damn.
This piece of dialogue foreshadows the events to come, as if left to his own devices, Petrus will venture into the Undead Parish and murder Rhea. On the other hand, if Petrus is killed after Rhea is saved, she will survive. There is also one other path. If the Chosen Undead acquires all the items Rhea has to offer, she will be kidnapped and taken to the Duke's archives, where it is discovered that she has become hollow. Sadly, the Chosen Undead could not save her, but at least they could grant Rhea her final wish.
If I do go hollow, then finish me off, I beg of you.
It seems the pilgrimage she was ordained to complete was doomed from the beginning. Finally, the Chosen Undead can confront Gravelord Nito, the first of the dead. He appears to be coated in humanity, a hint to his goals of absorbing the power of the undead, and
Judgment Day, Nito. Face your death. Your second and final death. Yeah.
working with Gwyn to suppress the human race. Just like any other lord, Gravelord Nito falls, and so his soul falls into the possession of the Chosen Undead. The very being that administers death to the world had fallen. Much of Nito's Lord Soul was offered to death, yet it remains powerful enough to satiate the Lordvessel. Many years later, the Milfinito and Finito would continue the teachings of the Great Dead One. By singing, the Milfinito would reassure the dead, while the Finito safeguarded them, allowing them a peaceful slumber. With 3 Lord Souls in possession, the Chosen Undead ventures into Lost Izalith to obtain the final Lord Soul. This once great city was ruled by the Witch of Izalith, along with her Daughters of Chaos. As mentioned previously, Lost Izalith has now become the birthplace of demons, a result of the witch who, in her blasphemy, tried to create another first flame. Ironic that the Witch of Izalith was able to create new life, only this life was demonic and volatile.
I wonder, the lava that's being shown here, is this a creation from the second flame that Izalith and her daughters were creating, or is it, you know, just an environmental feature that's always been here in the city? Yeah. I mean, it suits so well with the demons now. You know, it looks like hell. They're living in hell. They are demons.
Or was it? The demons of Izalith seem intelligent, as if they had carved out their own civilization in Lordran. Each demon has their role, working together to ensure the survival of their race, and defend their mother, the Witch of Izalith. Yet again, Gwyn's involvement may have played a role. Perhaps Izalith was a stable society of demons before Gwyn dispatched his legion of Black Knights, initiating the Demon War. One way or another, the war concluded, and Gwyn placed demons in his ranks, acting as transporters and jailers. This also raises an important question. If Gwyn never went to war with the demons, would they have ever posed a threat to his reign? Nevertheless,
we'll never know now.
The Chosen Undead continues. Strangely, a centipede-like demon can be seen stalking the Chosen, a hint for the fight ahead. As the Chosen Undead navigates deeper into Lost Izalith, they come across the Demon Fire Sage, a creature very similar to the Asylum and Stray Demon. The Demon Fire Sage was the first demon and the last master of the original fire arts before the Witch of Izalith was engulfed by the Chaos, creating pyromancy. After defeating the Fire Sage, the Chosen Undead encounters the Centipede Demon. Upon slaying the demon, the Chosen receives an orange charred ring, which states that the ceaseless discharge was a fool, who readily dropped the ring, and from that spot, a terrible Centipede Demon was born, explaining why it is dropped by the demon upon its death. Further ahead, the Chosen Undead reunites with Solaire, only this time his mind seems very far away. He states,
Why? Why? After all this searching, I still cannot find it.
Of course.
He's gonna become a hollow. Yeah, he's gonna become a hollow. You're gonna have to kill him. Story of the Chosen Undead's life. You know, killing his friends.
He's referring to the sun, which he had been chasing ever since he set foot in Lordran. After navigating through the lava fields, we witness Solaire for the last time, with a...
What are those things on the floor? Like cockroaches or something.
Parasitic organism embedded into his brain. He swings wildly, claiming that he had finally discovered his very own sun.
Finally, I have found...
Oh, is that what they are? Wow. Okay.
Found it. I have. My very own son. I am the sun. I've done it. I have. Yes, I did it. I did.
You poor, poor man.
The Chosen Undead has no choice but to put the once joyous knight out of his misery.
There's never a choice here. In this game, it doesn't seem like there's a choice. With many of your companions along the way, hey, it seems like death is assured, one way or another. They're gonna die, somehow, some way.
It's over. My son, it's setting. It's dark. So dark.
Things could have turned out differently, however. Should the Chosen Undead choose to become a servant of chaos, they can unlock a shortcut into Lost Izalith. Behind the doors lie several parasites, including the Sunlight Maggot. By using this shortcut, the Chosen Undead is able to claim the Sunlight Maggot before Solaire, and inadvertently save his life. The description reads, when worn on the head, it emanates blinding light, which is why it's known as a Sunlight Maggot. Solaire can then be discovered for the last time, where he states,
Was it all a lie? Have I done this all for nothing? Oh, my dear son. What now?
But how did the parasite attach to your head? I mean, you have your helmet on. How? Did you take off your helmet? Why?
What should I do?
he will forever be unaware that the Chosen Undead had saved him from madness. Advancing further into Lost Izalith, the Chosen Undead encounters Siegmeyer.
Old friend! Wait, where's your daughter? Hopefully she'll be able to find you soon. Yeah, I don't want her to be in trouble as well.
No, don't tell me. Those monsters making life difficult for you? You need not be ashamed. We're all in the same boat. I really have run up quite a debt to you. Perhaps the time has come.
Two choices lay before the Chosen Undead. They can slay all the Chaos Eaters and then speak with Siegmeyer, who will state,
Wait, did you defeat those dire creatures? Outstanding. You never fail to impress. This Knight of Katarina thanks you. I feel like I'm always thanking you. I curse my own inability.
On the other hand, the Chosen Undead can allow Siegmeyer to fight the Chaos Eaters alone. So
why? Why not fight together as a team? Huh? Why must it only be him alone or just you as the character player alone? Why don't you fight together as a team? Therefore, his pride or his honor will stay intact and you will both be alive. Why should it just be one person? Guys, stop trying to be heroes here. Be clinical. Be calculating. Two are better than one person in this situation. Work together. Are you not friends? Are you not teammates?
that he can repay his debt to the Chosen Undead for assisting him on several occasions. However, if left to fight alone, Siegmeyer may fall. The Chosen Undead then jumps into the pit and aids Siegmeyer once again.
Yes, work together.
The Onion Knight then states that he is grateful, however there is something somber about his response. One day, the Chosen Undead comes across the body of Siegmeyer laying on the shores of Ash Lake. He is accompanied by his daughter who states,
"My father, all hollow now, has been subdued. He will cause no more trouble. Oh, father, dear father."
Sieglind came to Lordran in search of her father. Her goal was to deliver the last words of her mother, and fortunately was able to do so, before forcibly putting her hollow father to rest. His hollow state is a result of the Chosen Undead's continuous aid. Although they had saved Siegmeyer on several occasions, they unknowingly stripped the brave and honourable knight of his purpose. What good was he to anyone if he could not solve his own problems, or slay any creature alone?
Oh my god. Okay, yeah, you know what? I'm frustrated with Siegmeyer, sorry, not Sigmund, Siegmeyer. I'm frustrated with him. Really, I am.
Dampened the morale of the Katarina Knight. His honour was no longer intact, and his worth as a knight dwindled in his mind. Siegmeyer, having lost his purpose and the will to live, became hollow. Returning to Izalith, the Chosen Undead edges closer to the witch. However, several obstacles remain. Firstly, a daughter of chaos, utilising devastating pyromancies, defends the entrance to her mother's lair. This individual is unveiled to be the eldest daughter of chaos, revealed by her Chaos Fire Whip pyromancy, which states that it was wielded by the eldest of the Daughters of Chaos. During this fight, the Knight of Thorns, Kirk, can also invade this realm. After quickly dispatching the daughter, the Chosen Undead then deals with the knight. He first invaded in the depths, and then again in the demon ruins. This invader, who had plagued the undead's journey, is slain for the last time. His final resting place lies in Quilag's domain, near the Fair Lady. His armour reveals that Kirk was a notorious member of the Dark Wraiths. Kirk is also described as being murderous. Despite this, somewhere along his path, Kirk devoted himself to the servants of Chaos, utilising his strength as a Dark Wraith to pillage humanity and gift it to the Fair Lady. Why he did this is unknown. Either way, he had some sort of affinity towards the Daughter of Chaos. The path now cleared, the Chosen Undead descends into the lair of the Witch of Izalith. Here we see the face of the once great witch. She has mutated into a tree-like creature, titled the Bed of Chaos. 2 seeds can be seen laying on either side of the Bed of Chaos, which could possibly be 2 of her daughters. Perhaps these 2 were the closest in proximity to the witch, when she attempted to create an artificial first flame. Destroying the 2 seeds reveals a path to the core of the Bed of Chaos. Slashing through the branches, a small parasite is discovered within. This creature is all that is left of the Witch of Izalith. The Chosen Undead slays the creature with a single stroke, and chaos is unleashed.
Really? That little thing there was her? Wow.
Chaos, which would spiral out of control and eventually go on to consume the Ivory King and his loyal knights. The demon civilization, no longer maintained by the Bed of Chaos, would eventually die out, and an old demon king would be the last living witness of the chaos of Izalith. And with that, all the lords had fallen, and only Gwyn himself remains.
Wait, I thought Gwen consumed himself into the flames. So he's still alive? Where's my pen? Oolacile and the Abyss.
To tell the tale of the Abyss, we must first travel back in time, centuries ago, to a land called Oolacile, an ancient land of sorceries swallowed by the Abyss. The Enchanted Ember, a vestige of the lost land of Oolacile, suggests that the once great city had fallen. During the Chosen Undead's journey, they are taken to the depths of Darkroot Basin, where a hydra and a slew of crystal golems occupy the area. Once the creatures have been slain, a golden crystal golem can be discovered behind the hydra. Unlike the others, this particular golem is unique, as it houses a person within. After the golem has been defeated, the Chosen Undead can summon the once captive individual to their world. Doing so reveals that this person is Dusk, the princess of Oolacile.
Dusk. Okay. Nice name, I guess. Dusk. Princess of Oolacile. Oolacile. Oh. What's happening?
I am Dusk of Oolacile. I cometh from an age long before thine. I cannot stay here for long. So, before I disappear, allow me to ask one thing. My home, Oolacile, is the home of ancient sorceries. My hope is to pass this profound knowledge to thee, with thine approval. Would this be of assistance to thee?
Dusk explains that she is not in the correct time, and that the Oolacile sorceries differ to the ones utilised by the Chosen Undead. The sorceries she sells are better suited for utility, rather than for offensive purposes. She goes on to explain that her land Oolacile was reduced to ashes. It is unclear how the princess left her land and travelled forward in time. Time is convoluted and lore-drawn after all. But one thing is for certain, the sorceries of Oolacile are unusual and unknown even to the scholars of Vinheim. It is important to note the summoning location of Princess Dusk. It appears that the land of Oolacile closely resembles that of the present-day Darkroot Basin. The Royal Wood in particular bears resemblance to Darkroot Garden.
What if it's the same place? But, of course, Oolacile in the present has been completely eroded or destroyed, and now it's just overgrown forests and, you know, just a new garden, essentially. But in the past, way in the past, it must have been like a huge city.
Suggests that over time, due to lack of maintenance, the land was slowly consumed by vegetation, resulting in a dimly lit forest.
Yes, he said it better than I did.
With the princess rescued, the Chosen Undead can obtain a broken pendant from the Duke's archives, once again protected by a crystal golem. Seath may have wanted to study the pendant for its magical properties. This object is half of a broken stone pendant. The vine appears to originate from Oolacile. A powerful magic can be sensed from this ancient stone, yet men of this time can neither manipulate nor sense its power, which has a distinct air consisting of both reverence and nostalgia. With the pendant in hand, the Chosen Undead can now continue to Darkroot Basin. Doing so results in a portal appearing. Approaching this gateway results in the Hand of Manus reaching out through time and space to grasp the pendant.
The Hand of Manus? The progenitor of all mankind?
Pulling the Chosen Undead a few hundred years into the past. What meaning this pendant holds is unknown. Perhaps it is a relic of Manus's humanity. The first obstacle to overcome before setting foot in the land of Oolacile is the Sanctuary Guardian.
Is that a lion mixed with a bird and a scorpion tail?
This creature is a white-winged lion, Sanctuary Watchkeeper, who dreaded the spread of the Abyss. Upon closer inspection, we can see that the Guardian is a hybrid of various animals, as it has the features of a lion, goat, a scorpion-like tail, and a set of wings, a ferocious guardian of the land. Once defeated, the Chosen Undead can venture into Oolacile's sanctuary.
That creature reminds me of a creature I fought against in God of War 3. Yeah, like when Kratos was climbing up Mount Olympus and he was fighting against a creature that looked awfully similar to that one, you know, with the lion's head, the goat or the ram's horns, scorpion tail. Yeah, it reminds me of the creature. I just can't remember what they called it exactly. But you'll see the image here. If I post it somewhere here, you'll see it. Yeah, okay, let's continue.
In this sanctuary, we discover Elizabeth, a giant mushroom. Her appearance is similar to that of the mushroom parents discovered in the Great Hollow and Darkroot Garden. However, she cannot move and has no limbs. Perhaps the mushrooms evolved over time. When speaking to Elizabeth, she states,
"Well, look at this one. From what faraway age hast thou come? Thy scent is very human indeed, but
a mushroom,
not intolerable. Ah, Princess Dusk's savior. Thine aura is precisely as she described. I thank thee deeply for rescuing Her Highness, but Princess Dusk is here no longer, snatched away by that horrifying primeval human. And so I must ask, couldst thou once more play the savior?"
Her dialogue confirms the Chosen Undead has travelled through time. It also confirms that Dusk has been kidnapped by a primeval human. She then goes on to state that she is the guardian of the sanctuary, acting as a godmother of sorts to Dusk.
"An abyss was begat of the ancient beast, and threatens to swallow the whole of Oolacile. Knight Artorius came to stop this, but such a hero has nary a murmur of dark. Without doubt he will be swallowed by the abyss, overcome by its utter blackness. Indeed, the abyss may be unstoppable. Still, I have faith that Princess Dusk may be rescued yet."
Here we learn that the primeval human, the ancient beast, has brought ruin to Oolacile, and that Knight Artorius, one of the 4 Knights of Gwyn, was dispatched here to rescue Dusk from the beast, and in turn, halt the spreading of the abyss. Elizabeth appears doubtful of his success, but she still has faith that Dusk may be rescued. She also confirms that the Chosen Undead was not the only person pulled through time.
"Not long ago, I had another visitor. A human like thyself, from a faraway time. Only he was dreadfully odious, and I'm afraid that he is still amongst us."
By the time of Drangleic, Elizabeth was revered as a saint that devoted her life to helping the needy by concocting medicine and potions. It's thought her great virtue was matched only by her sublime beauty, but who can say now?
Her sublime beauty. Okay, a mushroom. Alright. beauty in the eyes of the beholder, you know. But how did she make her medicines? I don't see her having any arms, so how did she do it? Maybe she has some attendants to her.
It seems knowledge regarding Elizabeth has changed over time, as she was described as having sublime beauty, even though she is a mushroom. Everyone has their own taste, I suppose. Her corpse is eventually discovered in Farron Keep, indicating that she never abandoned her duties. Beyond the sanctuary lies the Royal Wood. Traces of the abyss can be seen throughout the wood, as well as magical elevators constructed by the residents of Oolacile. Many monuments from the time of the Royal Wood can be seen in Darkroot Garden, further enforcing the notion that the two areas are one and the same. As the Chosen Undead navigates the forest, they encounter a large black dragon who briefly lands on a bridge before flying off into the distance. Nearby, the Chosen Undead comes across an individual called Marvelous Chester. His appearance is similar to the description provided by Elizabeth. Chester confirms he was pulled through time.
Let me guess. Snatched by a shadowy limb and dragged off to the past? We ought to help one another out.
His appearance is unique, sporting a black long coat and a top hat with a mask. Although he talks as if he is trustworthy, he will attempt to invade the world of the Chosen Undead further down the line. He chooses to use a sniper crossbow as his weapon, a large crossbow with a long distance used by Kareem snipers. This suggests he is from the kingdom of Kareem. If he is killed while invading, he will still sell items to the Chosen Undead, albeit reluctantly. He will also share some key information to the Chosen Undead, providing context to the events that took place in Oolacile.
Believe it or not, Oolacile has brought the abyss upon itself, fooled by that toothy serpent. They upturned the grave of primeval man and incited his ornery wrath. What could they have been thinking? But to you and I, it's all ancient history. You have to ask yourself, does it really matter?
The toothy serpent is most likely Darkstalker Karth, an advocate for the dark. The kingdom of New Londo was not the only city to fall due to Karth's involvement, as it appears Oolacile had suffered a similar fate. It seems that Karth had manipulated the minds of many for centuries. He wanted to harness the dark to overthrow the gods and usher in a new age of darkness. The folk of Oolacile could not avoid the temptation of power and chose to disturb the grave of the primeval human Manus, also known as the Father of the Abyss. In turn, this resulted in the spread of the Abyss. The wrath of Manus could not be contained, and soon the residents would warp into servants of the dark, and bodies of humanity would emanate from the abyss below. Manus was potentially a sorcerer from Oolacile, as all dark spells reference an Oolacile sorcerer on the brink of madness.
And while Manus's grave is in Oolacile as well, so definitely I think he does come from this place, or somewhere around close to Oolacile. Yeah. Okay.
Just like any other human, Manus eventually died and was buried deep below Oolacile. His burial signifies he may have been someone of importance, as his grave is encircled with stones in the ground. Some suggest that he may have been the original furtive pygmy. To be furtive is to avoid attention. He died alone away from sight, only for his remains to be defiled. He could also be one of the many pygmies who was trapped in the Ring City, only to escape to the land of Oolacile, where he would one day die. Even after his death, remnants of his humanity remain, as he reached through time to retrieve his pendant. Turning now to Artorius, the Abyss Walker, Gwyn, the Lord of Sunlight, feared the dark, as it threatened his Age of Fire, the Age of Gods. The encroaching darkness was a sign of the rise of humanity, and so he tasked one of his knights, Artorius, to traverse the abyss, rescue the princess, and slay the source itself. Artorius was well equipped to deal with the abyss, and was the most suitable knight for the task at hand. His greatsword was designed to strike harder against dark servants. He was also accompanied by the great grey wolf Sith, who was much younger during the events of Oolacile. In addition, Artorius was also in a covenant with the beasts of the abyss. Ultimately, Artorius was bested and was forced to withdraw. A trail of abyss substance leading from the chasm of the abyss to Artorius' location highlights his path of retreat.
Yeah, that can't be blood. That has to be some sort of abyss waste that's permeating from him or something. I don't know.
By the time the Chosen Undead reaches the night, he is nothing but a husk of his former self.
Harlow, you know what must be done.
A once great knight, corrupted by the abyss, as confirmed by his armour. The death of the armour's owner can be surmised from the corrosive dark of the abyss, and the tattered azure blue cape, once a symbol of pride and glory. Artorius, in his madness, still appears to be hunting the servants of the dark, even after his death, signifying that some of his ideals have been retained. His left hand is limp and mangled as he left his great shield behind to protect Sif from the abyss. Artorius did manage to crawl out of the chasm, but it was too late. The Chosen Undead frees Artorius, but the legend of the Abyss Walker does not die with him. However, this version of events contradicts history. If Artorius fell to the abyss, then how was Dusk of Oolacile saved? How was the spreading of the abyss halted? Why do item descriptions and the testimonies of individuals refer to Artorius as the saviour of Oolacile?
Someone is lying. Someone is lying, protecting the truth. And I think I know who it is, but I'm not gonna say. Let's hear what the brothers have to say. What's the YouTube channel name again? Yes, the Brothers Code have to say.
The legend of Artorius the Abyss Walker is nothing but a myth. In truth, the Chosen Undead would navigate through Oolacile Township, fighting the endless onslaught of servants of the dark, and eventually they would descend through the dungeon into the chasm of the abyss. There they would discover Alvina, who would guide the Chosen Undead to a young Sith, protected by the veil of Artorius' shield. Sif accompanies the Chosen Undead as he once did Artorius, and together they would put Manus to rest. The soul of Manus is described as a lukewarm lump of gentle humanity. Upon closer inspection of the soul, we can see humanity at its centre, as well as dark sprites emerging from within. It also goes on to state that ancient Manus was clearly once human, but he became the father of the abyss after his humanity went wild, eternally seeking his precious broken pendant. Potentially the pendant was pillaged from his grave, although this is never confirmed. Tragic is the tale of Artorius, the knight famous for his prowess in the abyss, who could not halt the corruption in Oolacile. Even in New Londo, dark wraiths remain to this day. Perhaps the abyss is insurmountable. Regardless, the legend of Artorius would ripple through the ages, giving rise to Farron's Undead Legion, the Abyss Watchers, fighters who embody Artorius' combat style and fight the abyss both in life and in death. Returning to Artorius' location, the Chosen Undead discovers a woman kneeling and paying respects to the deceased. This individual is Kiran, one of Gwyn's knights. If the Chosen Undead speaks to Kiran, with the soul of Artorius in their possession, she will say,
"You, is that not the soul of the man who fell on this spot? He was a dear friend. I wish to pay proper respect with that soul. Would you be willing to part with it?"
If given to her, she will offer a pair of gold and dark silver traces in exchange. It is not clear whether she was romantically involved with Artorius, or if she just had great respect for her fellow knight. If slain, she will cry out,
"You humans, my dear Artorius."
This statement insinuates they may have been linked romantically. Either way, she's one of the few that knew the truth regarding the legend of Artorius.
I mean, they could have been siblings. No, but she did say like a dear friend, so no, there's no way they could be siblings. Yeah, okay. Yeah, no, lovers, it's possible.
With Manus put to rest, Elizabeth states the following.
"Thou hast rescued Princess Dusk, and rid us of that terrible primeval human, even halting the spread of the abyss. I salute the grandeur of thine enterprise. I thank thee, as do we all. I will remember thee, but I will keep thy story to myself." This is the best way, for thou art come from a time far ahead. No one will sing thy praises, but yet thy greatness shall live on, for it shall be my purpose to remember all thou hast done for us.
The true
The flesh is weak, but deeds endure.
Saviour of Oolacile returns to their present day, where they can converse with Dusk.
This may strike thine ear as somewhat peculiar, but long ago, in my homeland of Oolacile, I was beset by a creature from the abyss. I would have perished then, were it not for the great knight Artorius. In truth, I saw little of what transpired, for mine senses were already fled. But even still, there was something about Artorius, a certain balance of the humours that quite perfectly fits your semblance. Heavens, could it be that? Oh, dear me, that was Oolacile, many centuries ago. Please excuse my fanciful musings. Only it was so very odd. You and Artorius, I owe my life to each of you, and both seem to share some resonance of sorts. Perhaps it is the nature of true greatness. I still think on that creature from the abyss that preyed upon me. My faculties were far from lucid, but I quite clearly sensed certain emotions. A wrenching nostalgia, a lost joy, an object of obsession, and a sincere hope to reclaim it. Could these thoughts belong to the beast from the abyss? But if that were true, then perhaps it is no beast after all. It's just that I wish to know the truth, and no one, not even loving Elizabeth, will tell me.
It appears that out of respect for Artorius,
You can't handle the truth. I think that's what Elizabeth is thinking.
Elizabeth hid the truth from the world, although Dusk notices the striking similarities between Artorius and the Chosen Undead. She also recounts that Manus did have emotions after all, an essence of his humanity remained, symbolized by his desperation to retrieve the broken pendant. Alvina also confirms in the present day that the story of Artorius is none but a fabrication and a fairy tale, although she still respects Artorius. Many bandits and adventurers seek the treasures left behind at the grave of the Abyss Walker. Alvina tries to sway people away in order to preserve his legacy and safeguard Sith. When approaching the grave of Artorius, despite centuries having been passed, an adolescent Sith still recognizes the Chosen Undead.
Whoa! He's huge.
They did fight side by side in the abyss after all. Howling in anguish, Sif reluctantly picks up his master's sword and prepares for battle. The Great Grey Wolf does not want you to traverse the abyss and succumb to its corruption, and so fights against the Chosen Undead. But the Chosen Undead is bound by fate to obtain the covenant of Artorius to traverse the abyss.
So, does that mean you kill the wolf? Hey. Yeah.
This once more. During the journey to the past, the Chosen Undead comes across another knight of Gwyn, Hawkeye Goth, a giant who wields a bow to pierce dragons, a crucial ally to Gwyn. Sadly, Goth has been trapped in this tower as some look down on his kind. Furthermore, Goth appears to be blind, however his lack of vision is due to his helmet. It appears that the eye holes have been filled with tree resin by those who dismiss Goth as a Bruce's giant. He recognizes the Chosen Undead as the one who freed Artorius and thanks them for allowing him to leave this world with his honor intact. Goth also confirms Chester's version of events, that the townsfolk of Oolacile were persuaded by a dark serpent and brought about their own ruin. From Goth, we learn that the dragon witnessed previously is in fact Calamite. Even if the City of Gods will not confront the beast, Goth will assist the Chosen Undead in taking down the Black Dragon. With the greatest of great bows in hand, Goth fires an arrow into the sky, piercing the dragon and forcing it to land. It is important to note that Calamite is referenced as the last of the ancient dragons, an
nice shot.
Interesting choice of words, considering the everlasting dragon and Seath the Scaler still exist. Nevertheless, Calamite's life is one of solitude. The Chosen Undead ventures to the location of the grounded dragon and engages the beast. Calamite, the bringer of calamity, is slain. After his death, a faction called the Dragon Knights would be born. Harnessing the scales of the dead dragon, they forged weapons and armor. These items prove the existence of Calamite, a dragon many consider nothing but a mere legend. And so Calamite, in a land devoid of dragons, had to die to prove his own existence.
Let me just write this down. Of the first flame.
The Chosen Undead's pilgrimage is close to its end. Offering the Lord Souls to the vessel results in the opening of a gateway. A blinding white light beckons the Chosen Undead. Here lies the final gauntlet. A myriad of phantom knights patrol the entrance, but
this is trippy, it's weird. Like the stairs are black, but the walls are just white, and on the opposite side it's just darkness.
Pose no threat. The souls of those who are disembodied by the flame. Crossing this stairway leads to the kiln of the first flame, a wasteland coated in ash, evidence of the ferocity at which the flame once burnt. Black Knights defend the area, however, they pose little threat to the Chosen Undead, the Slayer of Lords. These knights were stationed to protect Gwyn as he linked the flame. On a narrow bridge, a suit of Black Knight's armor can be obtained. The knights followed Lord Gwyn when he departed to link the flame, but they were burned to ashes in newly kindled fire.
I like how the Chosen Undead is just walking slowly towards the objective, you know. No one can stop him now. He is a god killer, definitely.
Wandering the world as disembodied spirits ever after. Delving deeper, a golden summoning sign can be seen before the final gate. This sign belongs to Solaire. Although he could not discover his own son, he pressed on. As an undead, just like many others, he would conclude his pilgrimage by setting himself ablaze. All that remains is to venture through the fog one last time, to face the Lord of Sunlight himself. At the heart of the kiln, next to the fabled first flame, stands Gwyn, the Lord of Cinder.
Like, seriously, how are you still alive? I thought you've given yourself through the flame. So you've just been waiting in here?
For only cinders remain of the once great lord. His appearance is representative of the sacrifice he made and the depths to which he delved to keep the flame from extinguishing. His
Look at that fiery blade. Ooh.
Family splintered and his firstborn banished, Gwyn had no choice but to link the fire with his own body. Offering much of himself to the flame resulted in him being stripped of his power and the decimation of his own army. His famous miracles of lightning are absent in this duel. The Chosen Undead, with or without Solaire's aid, would put an end to the Lord of Light. However, the machinations of Gwyn would continue through the ages, as many Lords of Cinder would continue to link the fading flame. Eventually, this would result in the creation of the Soul of Cinder, a physical manifestation of all that had linked the fire. Two options now lay before the Chosen Undead. Do they link the fire and prolong an age that may one day die, and fulfill the wishes of King Seeker Fraught? Or do they turn their back on Gwyn as he once did to mankind, and allow the flame to fade? Should the fire be linked, the Chosen Undead is consumed by the Inferno, and their powerful soul fuels the fire for many ages hence.
No. Let us begin the Dark Age. Let's start it right here, right now.
They choose to deviate from the undead pilgrimage, they can walk away from the flame, where many primordial serpents have gathered to greet the Chosen Undead. Among these serpents is Karth and Fraught. Strangely, Fraught kneels before the Dark Lord and offers their service, suggesting the serpent had a change of heart. Or perhaps Karth and Fraught were never truly rivals, and regardless of the outcome, they would benefit from the struggle of those around them.
Yeah, the serpents are conniving little weasels, I would say. You know? They're really out here becoming the puppeteers of the Chosen Undead and even other civilizations. So yeah, I wouldn't trust these things with my life. I'd keep a close eye on all of them. And all of a sudden there's more of them, when we've only been seeing 2. Where have all these other ones been this whole time? Nah, I don't trust them.
These imperfect dragons appear to have outlasted the everlasting dragons and the gods themselves. Nonetheless, the Chosen Undead now rules as a Dark Lord, reigning over the approaching Age of Dark. How did the fate of Lordran come to this? Gwyn refused to let the Age of Fire end, and as a result committed the first sin. By linking the fire and denying the transition of the ages, Gwyn halted the undeniable course of nature. The Age of Fire should never have been extended, yet it was. Even if the Chosen Undead rules over an Age of Dark, embers will always remain, and those faithful to the Lords will forever embark on a pilgrimage to link the first flame.
Wherever there is darkness, there will be light. Wherever there is light, there will be darkness. There must be a balance. I mean, we've had the age of... what are they called again? Yes, we had the age of the ancients where things were just stagnant. You know, nothing was moving, nothing was growing, nothing was proceeding. You know, it was just a stagnant world. Not a dead world, not an alive world, just suspended in existence, essentially. And now with the age of fire, you know, things have started to move, things have started to churn. You know, there is life and there is death and there is light and there is darkness. You know, we've had our time of light, now we're having our time of darkness. But even in that darkness there will be light. Just like when we're in the time of light, there is some darkness somewhere, around you know, the land. So both of these opposing forces are always going to be at each other's throats. One cannot be, you know, on top and the other must be extinguished. There's just no way. They must both exist. It must be a tussle of existence that way. Yeah.
Resulting in a paradox. The Age of Fire can never truly end, and the Age of Dark can never prosper. The two struggle to coexist. Yet how can there be light without dark? Still,
yet again, he says it better than I did.
The Lord of Light tried to banish it. In the words of Karth, the furtive pygmy waited for the fire to dim, but this never occurred. But can we trust the word of the devious serpent? The cycle is infinite, a fabricated timeline of distortion. Even if the darkness settles, one day, tiny flames will dance across the darkness, like embers linked by the Lord's past. This world can no longer be inherited by humanity. Hopefully, one day, someone can paint a tranquil world for those who remain. In the constant battle between the light and the dark, perhaps we must ask ourselves what lies beyond it.
Exhilaration, pride, hatred, rage. The dragons teased out our dearest emotions. Lead thy life as thou seest fit. Farewell, human.
Regrettably, I have failed in my mission, but perhaps you can keep the torch lit. Well, now you know, and I can die with hope in my heart.
If you require rest, now is the time. That is, after all, what the bonfire is for.
When I gave you that flame, I gave you a part of myself. Please take good care of it. Be safe, friend. Don't you dare go alone.
Please, save us all. Please.
Ah, it's over. My sun. It's setting. It's dark.
so dark. Was it all a lie? Have I done this all for nothing?
Well, you saved me once again. Dear me, what can I say? I have failed you.
This man continues to irritate me. He irritates me. What's his name again? Sigmar. Yes, he irritates me.
My daughter risked life and limb just to find me. Heavens, I never asked her to do that.
Mother's ambitions were misguided, no doubt. But surely 1,000 years of atonement is enough. Farewell, my mother, my sisters.
Please, sister, do not cry. I am happy, really. I have you, don't I?
I beg of the spread of the abyss must be stopped.
The breaking of curses is the territory of deities. You must be prepared to give some of yourself.
Beyond the scope of light, beyond the reach of dark, what could possibly await us? And yet we seek it insatiably. Such is our fate.
Thank you very much for watching. We hope you've enjoyed this video.
Aha, so it is two people. Okay, alright. So these are the brothers code. Okay, alright. Yeah. I knew that like there was a different voice for one part of the section of the video, and then for the second part of the section of the video there was a different voice. Yes. Yes, I wasn't going mad. I'm not turning into a hollow, guys. I knew it.
If you have, please leave a like. That'll support us greatly as it will get the video to a wider audience. And if you'd leave a comment, whether it's just feedback on the video or if you would like to ask us something, we'd be more than happy to respond to you guys. Now that you've got to see our face, you know, we can have more of a personal connection here on this channel.
Speaking of support, you can support us even further with the Patreon linked below in the pinned comment, also in the description. There's some rewards for you, you can check it out, including being credited in our videos. It'll help us to keep creating this high quality content and maybe even more consistently. And in the future we're going to try branch out into different types of content such as playthroughs, reviews. The possibilities are absolutely endless, so please give our Patreon a visit. And also don't forget to do what he said, leave a like, comment, subscribe. We're so close to 16,000. Hopefully here's to 20,000.
Hopefully soon enough. Not another 5 years, let's say.
No.
Anyways, once again, thank you very much, and we'll see you in the next video.
Okay guys, that is it with Dark Souls Story Explained, made on the Brothers Code YouTube channel, requested by CarlKen0209. I'm wondering, you know, in Dark Souls 2 and 3, is it still this tussle between the Dark Age and the Age of Fire? I'm wondering about that right now, because you know, clearly the story is not over. Even after you, as the Chosen Undead, has successively either chosen to continue on with the Age of Fire or to start the beginning of the Age of Darkness, there's still more work to be done, it seems. So yeah, I'm wondering, like, you know, is it still the continuation of that battle in Dark Souls 1, or is it something different, something totally different in Dark Souls 2 and 3? But yeah, this was interesting. It was a very, you know, comprehensive and, you know, informative video on Dark Souls made by the Brothers Code. It is a very long video. It's around, what, 2 hours? I think 2 hours and 30 minutes long. Hopefully you guys were also still here with me as I'm reacting to it. But yeah, it was really good, all that information that has been given to us, especially in terms of the age of the ancients, the age of fire, and as it continues further devolving into the other chapters that focus on what's going on as you, the character player, going through the different locations and collecting the Lord Souls. But I don't know. I think I need more information on these dragons in the Age of the Ancients. The dragons, the everlasting dragons. And the different types of subgroups of these dragons, like the serpents, like the primordial serpents. Are they part of the everlasting dragons, or are they a different offshoot? And why are they involving themselves in the politics of which age should take supremacy, whether it's going to be the fire age, the age of fire, or the age of darkness. I still need to know more about these dragons. And are there still more of them alive? Why aren't they further trying to interfere or take over, since the age of fire has become weakened? Why aren't they also trying to vie for control? And I didn't hear what's his name again, that dragon. I didn't hear Seth talk. I don't know if Seth can talk. I'm not sure about that. But I would have wanted to hear something from him, say something about what's going on in the current world that he lives in, and whether he knows about his daughter that exists in that painting, or she died, but does he know that she existed, and why hasn't he tried to connect with her or something? I don't know. What I've just realized is that the parents in these games, or should I say in this Dark Soul game, are not responsible. Gwen is not responsible father, and Seth is also not a responsible father. And that's why maybe they're such close friends. Not only through political investment and through the power that they wield as the god and the duke, who invests in magical knowledge and technology and stuff like that, but also because they are deadbeat fathers. Both of them, they are deadbeat fathers. So yeah, it's an interesting relationship that they had. The fact that Gwen also threw his wartime friend Havel under the bus, essentially throwing him into a prison and keeping him in there until he became a hollow. So yeah, really interesting friendship that they had. And in terms of the other gods, if I can call them that, the one that carried the life soul as well as the death soul, Nito and Israfel. How they died, or should I say how they were depicted here, in terms of Nito being all these skeletons and just stuff all around him. He looked cool. He actually looked cool. I actually liked how they presented him. He really did look like the Lord of Death. And then with the witch, she really looked terrible, after creating a second flame and it created chaos. She really looked bad. She was just this lump of flesh, if I can say that, in the end. It was just terrible. And what happened to her daughters as well was just terrible. Terrible. And of course the son. Let me not also forget her son. Just a terrible situation to them. And oh yes, I did say that I want to know who Priscilla's mother is. Who is the consort of Seth? Really, I need to know that. Because, how? how does the dragon and a human being get together and have a child? Like really, I need to know. I need to know that. And then all the companions that the character player, you know, meets up during the quest, really, there's just no escape for many of them. Many of them, they just died because of reasons, and you know, they were turned into hollows and they had to die. Others, yes, it is possible for them to survive if the character player does the right steps. If the character player does not do the right steps, then that particular companion is going to die. Like the one that I'm irritated on, Sigmar. Yeah, really, that guy really irritated me. He really irritated me, honestly. And you know what makes me even more mad is that it had to be his daughter to, you know, to kill him permanently. That was just a sad situation right there. Really, I just didn't like that at all. Out of all the companions, like, he was just the most irritable for me. Yeah, I like his armor. Their armor is cool. Where do they come from again? Katarina, yes. Their armor is really cool. The Katarina Knights have got really nice armor. But yeah, guys, that's it. That's it with Dark Souls. Thank you again to Carl Ken 0209 for requesting that I should react to this video. It's been very entertaining and informative on Dark Souls. If you guys want to check out the original video as well as the Brothers Code YouTube channel, the links are going to be in the description below. If you like my reaction, please give me a like, comment, and subscribe to my channel. Click on the notification bell if you want to be up to date with my latest videos, and I will see you guys next time. Okay, bye bye.